Right now. Okay, I'll call to order the Sparks City Council meeting of 5/28/2019 with a roll call, please.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
council members Abbott.
Here.
Lawson. Anderson.
Here.
Bybee.
Here.
Dare.
Here.
City Attorney Adams.
Here.
City Manager so sorry. I'm fired.
Oh, I'm here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, if you'll all stand for invocation speaker, it's Pastor Dare.
It's Barbara.
Oh, Barbara's, okay, I have Dare doing it, so that's fine. It's Barb West.
Do you dare call Barb West? Fun to laugh, isn't it? Would y'all bow your heads with me in prayer? Lord, we are just so thankful that we can be here today and that this fine council is here to do your business for our beloved city called Sparks, Nevada. Lord, thank you that Mayor Ron Smith is here and doing well today. And we pray that you'll keep your hand upon him and keep him well and healthy so he can lead us day by day into the future. And thank you for all of the council members and all of the hard work that they do to lead us. Lord, we would once again ask you to be with our school children and our teachers and guard them and protect them. Thank you for our first responders, our police force, our firefighters, our EMT people. We're just so thankful that all of those people are with us as well. And so, Lord, as business takes place and the agenda comes up one by one, we pray you would give our council members real wisdom to know how to act and to what to do. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Barb. Good job as always. Will you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Having a brain fart. I'm sitting next to Paul.
Just poke it. Just poke
It rubs off.
Just elbow me.
Okay. All right, move to number 4, it's public comment. I'll open the public comment period at this time. Anybody wishing to speak, please fill out a card. I do have some names down here that want to speak on 4 and 11-1. So if I don't call on you, that's because I'm holding it to 11, just let me know. First up is Darlene Hess. Where'd she go? There she is. Welcome, Darlene.
Well, my name is Darlene Hesse. I live at 3035 Malapai Way, Sparks, Nevada. I've lived there for almost 42 years. And what I cannot tell you how sad that my heart is. I've watched this beautiful golf course over the years through its fine days and then through its deteriorating days, which it's a lot better now and making quite a bit of money. And it's just a sad thing to see the wasteful spending of all this money. This WC1, I think it's like a demon brought in, because now there's so much money to pay for everything except like school teachers, from what I understand. I'm just really kind of a miserable person today because I feel like this is the ending. We've worked real hard, and there's many different things, all these beautiful animals that are out there, all the people that enjoy this golf course, and there's so many delightful days there. And to see a school that really is taking over a beautiful, beautiful property. This is crazy. It should be up in Sun Valley. It should be in another area. And the wasteful spending to build this school is unbelievable. $2 billion, my gosh. You know, to have to change the roads, put in, also change the utilities. I mean, to do so many different things. And the flooding, I believe, you can't build a pond big enough to keep that money, that water from going across to McCarran and flooding the poor homeowners out. The people are really, of Washoe County, I know you people are working real hard, and a lot of you are just day and night probably on this project. But honestly, this is such a mistake. I'm glad I'm on my way out, because this is just a devastating thing to me that this is happening. I believe that this school should have been built in an area where it was the government property, bought at $10 an acre, and wasteful spending. This golf course is almost paid for, and this golf course can make money, and it made money before. It's a PGA championship golf course. And now it's just going to be just so sad. If anything, it should always be a park or something for the people to enjoy. It's a sad day that this is happening. I've lived in Sparks all my life, and I love Sparks. I love Nevada, and I love our country. But there's greed, a lot of greed in this country, and I believe the main thing here is greed. And it's very sad. And if you really cared about the kids, you wouldn't let this happen. You take that extra money, those billions of dollars that they're going to use to build this school, and put it towards the teachers. My gosh, give the teachers more money. Do great things for the kids. Hire the best teachers. That would just be a wonderful, wonderful thing. I don't know. I'm real sorry about it, you guys. And I wish that it wasn't happening at all. So thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Next speaker is Walt Rosenberg. Welcome, Walt.
How you doing here?
Good, how are you?
It's good seeing you again.
You too.
My name's Walt Rosenberg. I'm a resident of the city of Sparks. I'm also a volunteer at the VA Medical Center. My primary duty is to do suicide prevention outreach to our veterans in our community. The reason why I'm here today is the VA will be holding the Spartan Pledge Day, and that's a day where we invite veterans to the circle outside of the hospital. We will have a band. We will have food. Also, there will be, oh, thanks. The Office of Military Legal Assistance will be there to help veterans out. There'll be training, Safe Talk, which will help you identify people who are at risk for suicide. I invite everyone in this council chamber, in the audience, and also council members, everyone in the city of Sparks, keep thinking about the Reno Medical Center, city of Sparks, to attend. I've given your clerk a copy of this, and she'll make copies, and I've asked to be put up on employee bulletin boards, and make copies, hand them out to your friends, neighbors, and anyone. If you know a veteran that's in trouble, there's the crisis line numbers available. And so I just look forward to seeing everyone attend. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Walt.
You're welcome.
Don't forget you want to get your flyer there.
We just leave that up for the rest of the meeting. Drive it home. Anybody care for that?
Okay, next speaker is George Lee. Come on down, George. Welcome.
Okay. This is a George Lee. God, where do I live? 3506 Brassey Drive, Sparks. This is the right out of the report showing what the cut is going to be and the fill is going to be. And this is the section that goes directly across the center of the upper entrance for the high school. See that where it's like 10 degrees down at the corner next to the property line? That is where the roundabout's going to be. on that 10-degree arc, or that 10-degree slant. That's what they figured that they were gonna do. They drew this, they had that, the report's not ready. They had, the engineering is faulty, they didn't put together everything and look at everything fully. This is, I'm gonna run out of time here, I know. Let's go up here. I have a question that was never answered about this. Okay. This is straight out of the report. This is the sewage attachment to, apparently there's a sewage connection in there, right, even with the clubhouse is right here. And this is in the middle of the golf course where they plan on dumping the sewage. There's apparently a box there. It says it's, what does it say on the picture there? It says, proposed sanitary sewer alignment and an easement. And that means they plan on running the sewer there. They're gonna cut through the golf course, which is not part of the project, right? And they're gonna hook up to that, to what, I don't know is under there. It's not on the map. But they're going to it's gonna be increased amount of sewage from the high school. It's gonna be seriously increased because, I mean, now it serves the clubhouse, okay? So if there's a connection in the middle of the golf course there for them to hook the sewer to, it is not designed to be, and there's nothing in the report about what the design is. It's not designed to accept that amount of sewage. Now, I know they said the only thing they were gonna have to improve was the Tyler 18th Street connection. You know, there was gonna be a project down there to increase the size of the junction there, I guess. So anyway, this report isn't ready. It's not ready to be accepted. There are other things that I found, and I'll talk to those later. I've got 7 seconds left. Okay, anyway. I have more things that I've found. There are things about the traffic patterns that should be fixed. Now, when you tear up McCarran to make changes in the Sullivan and El Rancho stoplights, there are things that should be done to change that. And it could be easy to make those changes, like add a right turn lane as you come up the hill to go.
Wrap it up, George.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'll talk later.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next speaker is Wesley Griffin. Welcome, Wesley.
Good afternoon. I'm Wesley Griffin. Most of you have seen me before. I'm with Save Well Creek.
Could you speak a little bit closer to the microphone?
I'm Wesley Griffin. I'm one of the people involved with Save Well Creek. You've heard our story many times, I'm sure. Maybe I'm just repeating myself, but we feel like we have a story here that bears repeating. We have recreational area, green space, open space in Sparks and at Save Wild Creek, at Wild Creek Golf Course. And it is being, one of the ways I would word this, it's actually being cannibalized by our school district when there's so much other open space that school could be developed on. It's really almost criminal. I don't know, how many of you read our regional plan? I won't ask for a hand, but we've got a regional plan here that says that one of the primary goals of the regional plan is to preserve green space, open space, and recreational areas. Where's the next public park going to come from? Anybody have any idea? Where's it going to come from? We've got a facility here that's probably worth $30 to $40 million. Where are you going to find the money to develop another facility like what we already have? Why are we doing this? I can't understand. One of the things that we've been faced with is we come to these meetings, we're a group of citizens. operating pretty much on a shoestring budget. And we're dealing with a public entity that has hundreds of millions of dollars. And we come here and make our presentation. We don't have all the fancy software to make fancy presentations, but we do have common sense. We can all figure out that we don't have new parks coming in. There's no, we're not gonna have another $40 million park or facility developed. But yet we come to these meetings to present our story. And what do we see? We actually see city staff and different public entity staff actually presenting the other story. They're presenting the other side. And nobody takes the time to look at our story, you know? So what's wrong with this? We feel like, you know, we've got a situation here where maybe the bureaucracy, being the staff of our public utilities, or of our public entities here, are actually wagging the dog. Instead of our different representatives telling the staff what to do, we've got the staff coming in with all the recommendations and presenting that, and not really taking a look at what some of the citizens are saying. We've had quite a number of citizens spend 2 years using our valuable time and effort to try to make a presentation, and we're not sure we've been heard. So for what it's worth, that's what I got to say. You'll still hear some more from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Wesley. Okay, that's all the cards I have for 4.1. Anybody else wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period, bring it back to the council. Approval of agenda 5.1. Looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we want to move, I should have said, we want to move 10.1 up right after the consent items.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Look for a second. Mr. Lawson. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 6.1, the minutes. Consideration and possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for May 13th, 2019. Any changes? Mr. Dara.
I move to approve.
We have a motion. Looking for a second. Ms. Bybee?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to announcements, presentations, recognition items, and items of special interest. First up, Chief Chris Maples. Come on down, Chief. Chief Maples is retiring June the 11th? 7th? June. 7th, okay. Okay, we have a commendation for you, Chief. Whereas Chief Chris Maples is retiring from the City of Sparks Fire Department after 23 and a half years of dedicated service to the City of Sparks, and whereas Chief Maples was willing to put his life on the line in service as a firefighter, fire apparatus operator, fire captain, fire battalion chief, and fire chief for the residents of City Sparks. And whereas Chief Maples served our city as a member of our senior leadership staff, as well as serving on numerous committees and boards. And now, therefore, I, Ronald Lee Smith, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, on behalf of the City Council, employees, residents of the City of Sparks, hereby recommend and thank Chris Maples for 23 and a half years of selfless commitment to the city and extend warmest wishes for the best of everything in your retirement. Down and you can go.
Good job, sir.
So this is my last city council meeting, my last opportunity to speak. You know that I like to be brief at these things, and I will be today as well. But I do want to thank all of you, along with former Mayor Martini and former Manager Driscoll, for giving me the opportunity to have led the men and women of the Sparks Fire Department. It is the culmination of my career. It's something I never imagined when I got started with the fire department, but it's been just an outstanding experience. During the time I've been here, I've worked with some quality people, both in the department and throughout the city. And we may not be a perfect organization, but we're a first-class organization. And it's something we should all be very proud of. Public service is a true calling. It's something that I dedicated my life to. Almost everybody in the room has done the same, and it's a worthwhile endeavor. So I'm done. My successor is going to be Chief Reed. I have every confidence that he's going to continue to lead the department forward. And I just want to thank all of you who I've worked with over the years for a wonderful career and an excellent opportunity. Thank you.
Chief, thanks for stepping up. Thank you, Chief. Okay, is Kevin Partita here? Come on down. Did I say your last name right? Yes. Come on down, sir. Have a seat. Okay, this is a proclamation. Whereas former Sparks Railroader Kevin Partita played with youth soccer and excelled at Sparks High School, helping lead the Railroaders to the state championship game in 2012, a year in which he earned all region honors. And whereas Kevin Partita then took his talents to UNLV, I don't know why you would do that, to play for the Rebels before being drafted by the San Jose Earthquakes and signed by Reno 1868 FC on March 13th, 2018. And whereas after just 10 appearances with Reno 1868 FC, Kevin Partita joined Reno's Major League Soccer parent club, the San Jose Earthquakes, on June 9th, 2018 to make his Major League Soccer debut. And whereas Kevin's journey to Major League Soccer is an example for young kids in our area, the City of Sparks is extremely excited to have Kevin represent our community in the growing sports and entertainment sector of Northern Nevada. Now therefore, I, Ronald Lee Smith, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim June 1st, 2019 as Kevin Partita Day. Kevin, congratulations. You want to say a few words and then we'll take a picture?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to mention what an honor it is to be in front of all of you today. I'm a very proud guy to be from the City of Sparks, and I hope to continue representing it well.
Thank you, sir. You're very good. We're doing this again Saturday night.
Yeah.
So are we going to keep this?
We can print 100 of them.
We can, okay.
We'll give them for all your relatives.
Ron,
Don't mind them.
Ron, Doug's here, the manager of 1868. If you
Doug,
wanted to
the
share.
manager?
Yeah.
Where's Doug? Come on down. Sure. Let's get a picture first and then there. We'll have you do this. I'll get on this and I'll have you guys do it first. If you don't mind. Well, it's not gonna holler, man. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Doug Raftery, the general manager of Reno 1868 FC. Just stepping in about 5 weeks ago into the position. Really got an opportunity to know Kevin decently well over that time, and getting a chance to speak with Christopher and Donald over the past few weeks. And as a local team, but affiliated with the San Jose Earthquakes, we do have challenges at times filling local players. but we want to do it, and Kevin is an example of exactly what we want at Reno 1868 FC. He's a great example for the youth in this area and throughout this region, and he just shows what you can do when you put hard work in, because it didn't come easy for him, especially going to UNLV, right?
Yeah.
So, on behalf of Kevin, thank you. On behalf of the organization, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Mr. Dare.
Real quick, as they get ready to go, this weekend is a big weekend. They're actually going to be we get to, as Sparks, kind of take over Reno 68. They even actually put Sparks as taking over. So we get to go, if anybody out there interested in going and actually watching him play and get that. I believe he's playing. I've heard that. He's not playing? Oh, he's just going to receive. Oh, gotcha. He doesn't get to play.
You can get a t-shirt, and there's bobbleheads too.
There's bobbleheads, but it's Sparks take over. Sparks is taking over. We just think it's awesome, and so this weekend, and everyone gets to go. That's all.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. Is there anybody here for Men's Health Month? I'll read the proclamation anyway. Whereas, despite advances in medical technology and research, men continue to live an average of 5 years less than women, with Native American and African American men having the lowest life expectancy. And whereas men who are educated about the value that preventative health can play in prolonging their lifespan and their role as productive family members will be more likely to participate in health screenings, and whereas fathers who maintain a healthy lifestyle are role models for their children and have happier, healthier children. And whereas the Men's Health Network worked with Congress to develop a national men's health awareness period as a special campaign to help educate men, boys, and their families about the importance of positive health attitudes and preventative health practices. And whereas the Men's Health Month website has been established at www.menshealthmonth.org and features resources, proclamations, and information about awareness events, activities, including Wear Blue for Men's Health. And whereas Men's Health Month will focus on a broad range of men's health issues, including heart disease, mental health, diabetes, prostate testicular, and colon cancer. And citizens are encouraged to increase awareness of the importance of a healthy lifestyle, regular exercise, and medical checkups. Now, therefore, I, Ronald Lee Smith, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim June 2019 as Men's Health Month. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Kreutz, boards and commissions.
All right, we have a total of 6 vacancies on our various boards and commissions, a group of 5 that all have a common application deadline at the end of this month, and then the 6th one is out in July, so I'll cover them in 2 different groups. The first one, the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, we're looking for 1 member to fill a partial term that would end November 6th of 2020. We're looking for somebody with a humanities background. For our Civil Service Commission, we are looking for 1 member to serve a 3-year term. On our Parks and Rec Commission, we're looking for 2 members to serve 3-year terms and 1 member to serve a partial term ending June 30th of 2020. For the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Board of Trustees, we are looking for a single member to serve a 4-year term. And then for the Washoe County Home Consortium Technical Review Committee, we are looking for 1 member to serve a 3-year term, and that position needs to be a non-staff person, and they are not required to be technically proficient in the work that goes on at that committee. We're looking for a lay person, a citizen, to step in and help us with that. Those applications are all due by the close of business on May 31st of this year. And if you're interested in doing that, you can apply. Either come down to the city and fill out a community service application, or go online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us. Click on Government on the webpage, and then on Boards and Commissions, and then finally on the Volunteering for a Sparks Board or Commission, fill out the form and click Submit. The last position, or 6 of 6, is for our Sparks Planning Commission, and it is a partial term running through December 31st of 2020. And this person would also be eligible for reappointment for other terms. They should follow that same application process that I just went through, and for that position, we are looking for applications by the close of business on July 5th.
Okay. Moving on to 7.10, a presentation on the quarry annual report. Mr. Smith. And Mr. Smith.
We call it.
And Mr. Christie.
Yes, it is. Thank you, council people.
Welcome, Blake.
Again, let me, you did an introduction, but let me do a little expanded one. I'm the proudest father in town. My son has returned from California and has joined the firm. And so I was going to have him do the presentation, but I think he'll watch this one. So we'll break him in on the next one. Also, Scott Christie, our engineer and consultant on the project here. But I have to tell you, it has been 1 year, or almost 1 year. It seems like it was a couple months ago that we were in here and the council was moved for approval of the project. The quarry is a project, again, that entails a minimum of 1,200 units and up to 1,800 units on it. I think from our development agreement, it's an annual reporting to it. I'm happy to say that we are in the, Scott in particular is deep in his design and we're moving forward on this. I would anticipate the tentative maps should be coming in to the city probably in the next 90 days within that. We have been showing it to various builders and starting to do the amenities and the different packages that'll be within inside of it. We're getting a very strong response to it. We're very happy with where it's proceeding with the tentative maps filed in third quarter of this year, or hopefully even second quarter of this year. We would anticipate breaking ground in the fourth quarter of this year, hopefully closing on homes in the second or third quarter of next year, and homes would be up probably in 2021, first or second quarter. Again, it's an exciting project. We are tickled with everything that we're seeing with it, and I can't thank you, the council people, and also the staff for all the support and help that they're working with us on. Do you have anything else to say?
You hit them all.
How many times have you heard that?
About 12 already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a great team around you, and I know the project will be first class like all of your projects, Blake, so we look forward to it.
Well, thank you.
And welcome to the world of going to meetings and figure out what we're thinking.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Scott, you got anything to say?
No, happy to answer any questions if you guys have them.
Okay, we have any questions? Looking forward to the project.
Great.
Thanks, you guys.
We'll see you in the coming months then.
Okay,
And thank you so much.
Okay, consent items. Anybody want to pull one? Okay, looking for a motion, Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.3.
Okay, we have a motion, looking for a second, Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, we moved up 10.1. Is this Mr. Cronk? Or Mr. Martini? 10.1, public hearing is required by NRS 354.596 to allow public comment on the tentative budget of the Sparks City Council for fiscal year 2019-2020. Welcome.
Thank you. Stacy Hemmerling, Budget Administrator. I'm taking this item this year, and this one is the public hearing for the tentative budget to give public an opportunity to comment, no action to be taken.
Okay. This is a public comment item. Anybody in the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for a motion. Ms. Bybee?
No motion. No action.
Oh, no action this. It says for possible action.
I recommend a motion, says no action.
Would you like us to? No action.
No action, it's just a public hearing.
Okay. See, mine says for action, for possible action on it.
On 10-1?
Yep.
It is indeed titled for possible action, but we are not required to take any. You're required to hold the public hearing, which
We
you
did
have
it?
done.
Okay.
Accept any comments that are made, which weren't, and now we can move on.
Okay. Then we're good. We're done.
Good.
except for 9.1. You're going to do that one as well?
Yes.
Okay. Consideration of possible adoption of the final budget for the city of Sparks for fiscal year 2019-2020. Stacy.
All right, Stacy Hemmerling, Budget Administrator. This item, you will now consider the final budget for fiscal year 20. We are required to file this budget by June 1st, and you're considering it today. There are essentially no changes from what you guys saw on the city manager's budget recommendations on April 22nd, except for one exception was that we needed to add $150,000 expense to the Development Services Fund, not the general fund, but our enterprise fund, for fire plan review services that we contract for. We just missed it, getting it in there. It needed to be there. So that is the only change from what was presented to you in the city manager's budget recommendations. And the rest of the funds remain the same. All 6 fiscal policies have been adhered to as you were presented in those recommendations. And today we're looking to adopt that final budget.
Okay, any questions or comments? Ms. Bybee?
Oh, I'm ready for a motion if you.
Okay, go
Ready?
ahead, sure.
I move to adopt the final budget for the city of Sparks for the fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion looking for a second. Mr. Lawson? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Dare?
I just want to say that this is a very important year. This budget is awesome. Very good job, and it's great that we get to move forward with putting police and fire and some of the infrastructure we have to have. So this is a big year. It's something that I didn't get to be here during those years where you guys had to cut back, but we get to move forward and step forward and create the support we need for our city, and I think it's crucial that we take a moment just to point that out. But good job, everybody, and awesome process.
Good point, good point. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. 9.2, consideration of possible approval to provide the Eddy House in a Northern Nevada continuum of care with a letter of support for a youth homelessness demonstration project grant application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Martini.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm John Martini, your Assistant City Manager. Before you today with a request excuse me, from the Executive Director of the Eddy House for a letter of support for an application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for a youth demonstration project. The purpose of the project is to address the needs of our homeless youth who are experiencing homeless here in the Truckee Meadows. Focused on the youth who are pregnant and parenting, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. The purpose of this demonstration program is to provide the services needed to this group of homeless so they can integrate back towards a successful adult life. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Dare.
I just want to say, we all have been down to Eddy House. A lot of us know exactly what's happening there. But just for our community to understand, this is one of the first steps, I believe, in taking and helping the homeless move forward to a place that we can really make a difference. And so when we can go in and help these young people before they're stuck in that lifestyle, it makes such a big difference. And this is just one component. If the way grants work is you go in and you focus on different portions of that. And so this grant focuses on those particular students dealing with those kind of things and walking forward. And so I just support it. I think it's great to support these guys and other groups that are working with our youth in this area. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bybee.
I would also like to voice my support for the Eddy House, who I came to know and work with through the Junior League of Reno several years ago before we got involved here in the city of Sparks. And so seeing firsthand what Michelle Gear and her staff have done to see homeless teenagers have a place to go, at least during the day, and the difference that they're making. And now they are just about to announce they do have a facility for 24-hour care. That is a result of a lot of community support. It feels good to see the community come together for such a need that we have in our community, because the teenagers are different. Homeless teens aren't going in the shelters; they're on the streets. and they're being trafficked, and they are very vulnerable. And so, and Michelle tells you all the time, I mean, if we can intervene at this point, we can keep them from a lifetime of homelessness and social services. So intervention at this early age is critical. So I support everything that the Eddie House is doing, looking forward to their new facility, and whatever we can do as a community, I think will make a huge difference. So thank you, and thank you for the letter that we're going to be sending.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Just wanted to add to it, this is one of those areas where we can make a difference in the community. Homelessness in general is an overwhelming topic with not one silver bullet, but there is definitely a place that we can make a difference with the youth. And starting it with the Eddie House and especially being able to help these kids make the transition, it's an exciting way to move forward. And unless there's some other comments, I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I move to provide the Eddie House in Northern Nevada continuum of care with a letter of support for the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project grant. Application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second, Ms. Bybee.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 9.3. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of funding for the operation of the Community Triage Center for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $87,000. Mr. Martini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. John Martini, Assistant City Manager, here before you with for your consideration, what is essentially a statement of a commitment of funding for the Community Triage Center to be located on the homeless campus in downtown Reno. As the council will recall, along about 2005, the legislature put together a system of funding to provide for this service in our community. It was active for a number of years, and then the vendor who was managing the program left a little bit unexpectedly, and we have not had the CTC for the last several years. Normally, the city manager, as you saw in your budget, would set a budget amount aside for this, and then as the year came on, we'd bring forward either a contract or an agreement for your approval to actually take those funds from budget and set them into play, or if you will, fully commit them. This year's a little different. We have met as a community, Reno Sparks, Washoe County, as well as the hospitals and some of the other groups, to start discussing the terms of a funding agreement. We have not gotten there yet. Assistant Director Ornelas and I met with the city manager this morning. There is a full agreement coming to you, we hope on June 10th. But for today, we're asking you to consider committing this money at this time. And I think it's good since you just approved the budget as well. That's my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, questions or comments? Mr. Dare.
So what the CTC is, for those might be listening and don't know, it is at our Record Street is where we have this, and it's the first line of defense when it comes to those with mental illness or need. And so we believe this is very important for us to have in place, and we've not had it there now. I think it's a year and a half. Is it 2 years? And when this happened, it was definitely a blow to what we had going on, and so we see this as a great value. I am very hopeful that our whole community will come together on this, but no matter what happens as we step forward, this is crucial. We can put people in homes, but if we do not come alongside them in this area, they can't even live in their homes because of some of what's happening there. So this is a crucial element, and I do hope with all my heart that every entity that's a part of this becomes a part of it and steps up. So, but I'm very supportive of this. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Mr. Lawson.
So John, do we have basic agreement then from the hospitals that they're going to be a part of this?
Councilman Lawson, at this time, my understanding of the agreement that we are hoping to bring before you on June 10th does not include the hospitals. It includes the local governments.
Thank you.
Ms. Bybee.
John, I do have a question. So it's saying that a RFQ was put out and that you had 2 respondents. And so is WellCare going to be will they be providing the services?
Councilman Bybee, or Councilwoman Bybee, excuse me. The city of Reno did put an RFQ out. There were 2 respondents. My memory serves, WellCare was selected to be the vendor for the facility. And now they are waiting for funding.
Okay. Are we awaiting more funding because the hospitals will not be involved? Or will it be something that the 3 entities, Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County, can do on their own? Or do we need the support of the hospitals as well? And will this that we fund today is our portion, I understand that. But for it to, we want to invest in something that is going to happen. So I guess that's my
Councilwoman Bybee,
question.
I'm going to defer that question.
I'm
to the
looking
city
over
manager.
here. I'm
Thank
seeing
you.
that. Okay, thank you.
For the record, Neil Kreutz, City Manager. In the best of all possible worlds, it is a 3-legged stool with the local governments, the contract provider or vendor, WellCare, and the hospitals. We continue to meet and confer with the hospitals, but they have not committed to date. So what we are doing here is making a statement of our commitment as the local government. You will see similarly titled agenda items both at the city of Reno and at Washoe County. This state has already indicated verbal commitment of their funds, and actually they want them committed by June 30th of this year. So we're just, what we're trying to do is show a willingness to provide this service, this badly needed service for our community, and see if we can't move all 3 legs of the stool forward.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I would, obviously, I think we're committed to trying to resolve the issue of homelessness in general. This is one piece of it, and I would highly encourage our hospital partners to do the same. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Looking for a motion, please. Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve funding for the operation of the Community Triage Center for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $87,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second, Mr. Dare.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, move on to 9.4. These are the things we really love to do here. So I'm going to come down there.
Okay.
Okay? Let me read what we're doing here to everybody. Administer oath of office to newly appointed Assistant City Manager John A. Martini.
Did you memorize it?
State your name. You can't do as poorly as I can.
Figure it out.
You're good.
I tried and stumbled on mine.
It's administering the oath, it's not. We approved him already, but.
As soon as it's ready.
Wait a minute.
Congratulations.
The motion to do the oath.
I state your name.
I, John Martini,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States.
that I will
I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend
protect and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States,
the Constitution and government of the United States,
the Constitution and government of the state of Nevada,
the Constitution and government of the state of Nevada,
against all enemies, whether domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, whether domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance and loyalty to the same,
and allegiance and loyalty to the same,
any ordinance,
in ordinance,
resolution, or law
resolution, or law
of any state notwithstanding,
of any state notwithstanding,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
all the duties of Assistant City Manager
all the duties of Assistant City Manager
for the City of Sparks,
for the City of Sparks,
County of Washoe,
County of Washoe,
State of Nevada,
State of Nevada,
on which I am about to enter,
on which I'm about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Chairman.
The hard part, that's all easy.
Now you get extra work.
John, after you're done giving you words of wisdom, I know you've got some family here. We'll get some pictures if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay.
I must say, after being in front of this council for the better part of 18 years, this is probably the most nervous I've ever been, and I think it's because my folks are here. So if it's all right with you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce you to my family.
Absolutely.
So I'll start on the right, Mr. Mayor. My wonderful girlfriend, Tracy, her daughter, Bailey.
Tracy Bailey.
I think my future son-in-law, Zach Chattel. My daughter, Anna. My mother, Deanna Martini. And my father, Dino Martini. And it's a funny story there.
What's his name? What's his first name?
Dino Martini.
Dino Martini.
My father is a graduate of Reno High School. My mother is a graduate of Sparks High School. So see, it can come together.
Can't come together, yeah. Well,
thank you.
Is that it?
I feel like I've been up here thanking you guys 100 times, so
You
once
have,
again,
John. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for all the years of service. What I'd like to do now is get you up here, take a picture with the council, and then if we can have your family come down, and we'll get a
I would
picture
love
with you and
that.
your
Thank you.
family.
We gotta hide them. Hide the bottles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really tell me we don't have to move water bottles.
You got a pretty fine boy there. Thank you. We're real proud of you. Good job.
Okay, get your family here. Come on up. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Be proud. Congratulations. Be proud. I'm sure you are, yeah.
I know.
You know, nice to meet you. How are you? You want to just get him and his family first? Let's do that and then, yeah.
Big government will get it on the way.
How's that, Julie?
Yeah.
Hey, come back. There you go.
Are you in?
We fit? We fit in here?
Lay down, Ron.
Super squeeze. Stand up, I am standing up. Can you get us on?
Can you get us on? Yeah. Could you make those work?
I'll block it. I'll block the water bottles.
Okay, looking right.
How's that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, John. Thank you. Thank you very much. John Pine. That's okay.
Is Ron's over there? Oh, they moved more over there than I thought.
That little shirt. Little shorty. Yeah, short one.
Okay, moving on to 9.5. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the contract AC 5573 for 2019 CDBG street improvements, federally funded project bid number 18-19 018 PWP-WA-219-152 ASAP VIP to Spanish Springs Construction. Go ahead, Amber.
Mayor, members of council, Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager. I'm presenting today for your consideration a construction contract with Spanish Springs Construction in the amount of $421,441 for the 2019 Street Improvements CDBG federally funded project. This project is based upon the city's approved U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Annual Action Plan, and in accordance with the 5-year consolidated plan. This project is shown on your display. To give you a little bit of orientation, to the top of your screen is Audi Boulevard. You see Sparks High School in there. The project will rehabilitate I Street between Rock Boulevard to the west and between 15th to 15th on the east. It involves removing and replacing deteriorated curb and gutter, sidewalk, driveway approaches, and the roadway servicing. The project was advertised and bid with 4 qualified bids, with Spanish Springs being the low bid. If approved, this project will be paid for with a combination of money from the Community Development Block Grant and from money from the Redevelopment Agency for Area 1 funds. The split on that is $279,408.75 from the Community Development Block Grant and $142,035.25 from the Redevelopment Agency. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I will gladly make this motion. I move to approve this contract AC-5573 for the 2019 CDBG Street Improvements Federally Funded Project to Spanish Springs Construction in the amount of $421,444. Or no, let me start over. $421,444.
No sense.
No sense. No, we rounded it.
Okay, I have a motion looking for a second. Mr. Lawson.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Amber. Okay, 9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the 2019 Street Preventive Maintenance Contract, AC 5572, bid number 18-19-019. Oh, boy. PWP number WA 219-167 to Sierra Nevada Construction in the amount not to exceed $354,007.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council members.
Speed hump.
X speed hump, that's right.
Yeah.
This is our annual preventative maintenance contract. We've got 8 areas that we'll be concentrating on this year. I'll just kind of step through where they all are. We've got a couple roads over there by the Boys and Girls Club off of G Street. We've got some roadways just east of Pyramid Way between York and Galt. We've got a road that is just off of Greenbrae Drive. This is over in the O'Callahan area. These particular roadways here are, they're going through corrective maintenance. These ones fall within that PCI range for corrective maintenance. Here are some streets off of Sparks Boulevard, just off to the bottom here. This is Shadow. We're up in the Vistas off of Goodwin. This is out in Wingfield Springs. And then finally, we've got some streets that are out in Cimarron. We advertised this project. We got 3 qualified bidders. Sierra Nevada Construction provided the low bid at $354,007. Staff is recommending approval of the contract. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions or comments? Mr. Anderson.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Look for a second. Mr. Dare.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay. 9.7. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an interlocal agreement, AC 5563, with the Washoe County School District, in which the school district will reimburse the city of Sparks 50% of the total actual costs associated with the installation of the 2019 Bering Boulevard Safety Project improvements with a total estimate project cost of $185,000. Amber.
Mayor, members of council. Before you today is an interlocal agreement between the Washoe County School District and the City of Sparks for a financial partnership to support the 2019 Bering Boulevard Safety Project. The construction of that project was approved at the May 13th Sparks City Council meeting. And through this agreement, Washoe County School District will reimburse the City of Sparks 50% of the total actual cost associated with that project. Happy to answer any questions you may
Okay,
have.
questions or comments? They're getting ready to start this project too, aren't they?
They will, yes.
Right
as
after
soon-
school lets out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, looking for a motion, Mr. Dare.
I can make a motion on that. I move to approve the interlocal agreement AC 5563 with the Washoe County School District, in which the school district will reimburse the City of Sparks 50% of the total costs associated with the installation of the 2019 Bering Boulevard Safety Project improvements, with a total estimated project cost of $185,600 and no cents.
Okay, I have a motion, look for a second, Mr. Abbott.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Amber. 9.8, presentation and discussion and possible approval of an employee complement change for the Financial Services Department effective May 28th, 2019. The estimated cost of the general fund is $600 for FY19, $13,000 for FY20, and $23,000 for FY21. Mindy, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Mindy Falk, Human Resources Director. This spring, Chief Financial Officer Jeff Clark looked at his department organizational structure to ensure it aligned with the new city manager's strategic plan. Working with Human Resources, the department developed the proposed plan, which will serve the city better than the former structure and allow staff to focus on functional areas. The new structure has 5 functional areas. The first is accounting systems and compliance. This will be led by an accounting manager. The second is Accounting Operations Division, led by an accounting manager. The third is Budget and Department Support Division, led by the budget manager. Fourth is Contract and Risk, led by the Contracts and Risk Manager. And our fifth functional area is Information Technology, led by the IT manager. To create this new structure requires 2 complement changes. One is to change the title of the budget administrator to the budget manager. The second is 1 senior accountant to be reclassified to an accounting manager. This structure does not change the number of positions in the Financial Services Department. It is exactly the same number. They're just changing titles and changing one classification to a higher classification. There was a mistake on the sample complement proposed. It showed that there was only 3 accountants, and we will remain with our 4 accountants that we have now. We're not going down 1 accountant. The cost of the restructure is $600 for fiscal year 19, $13,000 for fiscal year 20, and $23,000 for fiscal 21. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve the complement changes to the Financial Services Department effective May 28th, 2019.
Okay, we have a motion. Look for a second. Mr. Lawson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 9.9. Presentation, discussion, and possible approval to amend Appendix A in the Management, Professional, and Technical Employee Resolution R3341 to coincide with a reorganization of the Financial Services Department effective May 28, 2019. Mindy.
Mindy Falk, Human Resources Director, for the record. This item is the companion item of the previous item. The first agenda item asked you to change the complement. The second one is to make the changes to the Appendix A. The Appendix A are where the city's titles and pays are outlined for human resources staff to follow. In this case, we are seeking approval to amend the Management, Professional, and Technical Resolution. The titles in the Finance Department were sent to the city's compensation consultant at Korn Ferry Hay Group. The Hay Group reviewed the job descriptions in the new structures. And as a result, they were recommending moving the budget manager from a level 17 to an 18. They also looked at a brand new position that was approved in the fiscal year 20 budget. That is the IT security specialist. That position will be leveled at a level 14. The cost associated with the classification was included in the previous agenda item, and the new position is included in the fiscal year 20 budget already. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve the amendments to the Management, Professional, and Technical Employees Resolution R3341, Appendix A, effective May 28, 2019.
Okay, I have a motion looking for a second. Mr. Dare.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Mindy.
I have one more.
You're going to do this one too. 9:10. Presentation. You're not going to do this one.
I guess I'm not. That's okay. I'll get up.
Okay, Neil. Presentation, discussion, possible approval of an employment contract AC 5574 for Douglas R. Thornley for the position of Assistant City Manager effective June 3rd, 2019, with a yearly salary of $160,160. Mr. Cruz.
For the record, Neil Kircher, City Manager, and this is fun. And so I want to take part in the fun here today. We are changing a lot as an organization, and this is a key step forward for us. I am here today to ask for your approval for an employment contract for Mr. Doug Thornley. We started recruiting for an assistant city manager position in the springtime. We actually cut the applicant pool off after we had received 100 applications. They would still have come in had we not cut it off and decided that was plenty to look at and generate a pool from. From that pool, we invited 4 individuals to come and compete for the position, and we subjected each of the candidates to essentially what you would call a standard interview panel and an assessment center, where we put them in the role as chief labor negotiator for the city and put them in front of a mock council who we asked them to throw things at and see what they could do to trip up the candidates in the room and treat it as much like a regular city council presentation and conversation as possible. And through both of those processes, Mr. Thornley rose to the top and was our unanimous, a consensus decision that he was the #1 candidate. So I was able to meet and follow up with Doug and offer him a position, after which we arrived at terms that we could both live with. So I am very pleased to be in front of you today asking you to approve an employment contract for Doug Thornley.
And this is all part of the restructuring because we only had 1 assistant city manager.
Yes, sir.
Now we have 2.
And now we will have 2.
Okay, and we've
Yes.
made some other changes as well.
Yes, we have.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Ms. Bybee?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, make a motion.
Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the Assistant City Manager Employment Agreement AC 5574 between the City of Sparks and Douglas R. Thornley, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second. Mr. Abbott?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Mr. Thornley, would you like to say a few words? And do I have to call you Douglas, or can I stick with Doug?
I wish you wouldn't.
Okay. Sir Douglas. Welcome, Doug. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Doug Thornley, I suppose your new assistant city manager. At the risk of sounding unoriginal, I'd like to echo the outgoing fire chief's comments. I'm very excited for the opportunity to serve the public once again, and I'm really looking forward to getting started here in the next few weeks.
It's good having you back.
Thanks a lot.
Any other comments, Ms. Bybee?
I just wanted to say welcome back. We like to hire from within, and you're kind of from within because you were here before and gone and back. So I think your understanding of the city of Sparks and our culture and how this city operates, you're going to be on board the first day, and I have ultimate faith and looking forward to working with you.
Thank
So
you very
welcome.
much.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Doug? Thank you, Doug. Looking forward to it. Okay, 911, consideration possible approval to purchase a 2-year excess insurance policy for the city's self-funded workers' compensation program for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $116,978 and fiscal year 2021 in the same amount, and to give authorization for the city manager to execute policy documents. Jill, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Jill Valdez, Human Resources Analyst for the record. Before you today is a renewal of workers' compensation excess insurance. The city is self-insured for its workers' compensation program. Excess insurance for catastrophic losses is required by law to retain the self-insured status. I am pleased to report that the city's current carrier has offered the same flat rate per dollar of payroll with no increase for the next 2 years. Therefore, staff recommends the 2-year policy renewal split into 2 payments, one in fiscal 20 and one in fiscal 21. The payment in fiscal 20 is budgeted. The payment for fiscal 21 is a future year, so it is not currently in an approved budget. I do appreciate having representatives from our broker, UCI, here, so that in case you have any questions of either me or them, we are available.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the council? Mr. Dare?
I'm just ready to make a motion if you'd like.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve purchase of the excess insurance policy with Safety National for the city's self-funded workers' compensation program for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $116,978 and fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $116,978 and authorize the city manager to execute policy documents.
Okay, I have a motion looking for a second. Mr. Abbott?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Joe. Okay, 9.12, consideration of and possible approval of the mayor's recommendation of the reappointment of Frank Peterson to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission from the following potential appointees: David Blyko, Mary Brock, Scott Carey, Frank Peterson, and Shelley Reed. Mr. Kreutz.
For the record, Neil Kreutz, your city manager. As you read there in the title, Mayor Smith, Commissioner Peterson's appointment is up June 30th of this year, and he is interested in being reappointed, and that is the recommendation before you today. Be happy to take any questions.
Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion, or I'm sorry, looking for a motion. That's what I'm doing. Mr. Henderson.
Move to confirm the mayor's recommendation to reappoint Frank Peterson to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission to a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2022.
You have a motion looking for a second. Ms. Bybee.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 9.13. This is a first reading. Madam Clerk?
This is the first reading of Bill 2759, an ordinance providing for the city of Sparks to allow vehicle sales show as a temporary use as outlined in Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code 20.03.040.
Okay, this is the first reading of Bill 2759. Public hearing of this bill for its consideration and possible approval will be held at the regular city council meeting scheduled for Monday, June 10th, 2019. Okay, we'll move on to planning, zoning, and public hearings and action items. 11.1, second reading. Public hearing, discussion, and possible adoption of Bill 2758, an ordinance providing for the city of Sparks to approve a development agreement with the Washoe County School District pursuant to NRS 278.0201 for a public high school facility on a portion of Wild Creek Golf Course generally located north of McCarran Boulevard and east of Sullivan Lane in Sparks.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
If I might interrupt for just a minute?
Sure.
And kick this. Thank you. If I might interrupt for just a minute to kick this portion of our meeting off. All 3 items that you will consider under public hearing today are all related to the proposed high school at Wild Creek. What staff has prepared for you is a very thorough, comprehensive presentation. And what I would ask for your indulgence in is that you allow them to make one presentation. They will cover all 3 items. That will allow us to view the whole project in its context. That's really what underlies the development agreement that we negotiated with the school district to do. In as much as we are going to be covering essentially 3 separate public hearings, the presentation you are about to hear is a little bit longer than you would normally hear for any single public hearing item. So that's where I'm really asking for your indulgence. It's going to take us about 30 minutes and across 3 different speakers to get through all of this information and give you the context we feel is necessary, but we think it'll be worth your time to hear it in its whole.
Okay. And after the presentation, I'll open up the public comment, just if you're worried about that. So Allison, welcome. And Mr. Rundle, I should say Allison and Jim instead of pointing it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Smith and City Council. For the record, I'm Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick, and as Mayor Smith said, with me is Jim Rundle, Planning Manager. Your Transportation Manager, Amber Sosa, will also be making some comments during our presentation. As City Manager Kreutz indicated, before you for your consideration this afternoon are 3 items related to PCN 19-0007, the proposal for Wild Creek High School. Those items are 11.1, a development agreement between the City of Sparks and Washoe County School District, 11.2, a conditional use permit for an electrical transmission line, and 11.3, a conditional use permit for hillside development. Now, Sparks Municipal Code does not require City Council approval of construction of a school. However, over the last several months, City Council has expressed desire to see and review this proposed project as a whole. In discussion with Washoe County School District staff, city staff determined that a development agreement would be the best way to allow City Council and the public to see what Washoe County School District had in mind for this school. Similarly, Planning Commission usually reviews conditional use permits. But again, to enable the City Council to review this proposal in its entirety, the school district agreed to a different procedure whereby Planning Commission recommended a decision on the conditional use permits, and City Council would make the final decision on those conditional use permits. On April 4th, 2019, the Planning Commission reviewed and recommended approval of all 3 items. That's the development agreement and the 2 conditional use permits. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're reviewing the development agreement is that it relates to and governs the development of the property. It is not a school operations management agreement. It is a contract regarding the physical development and construction of the school site and associated infrastructure. While operational issues may be of concern, those are not the subject of the development agreement, and those will be addressed in an administrative review process, which would follow your consideration of the development agreement. And with that, I'll turn things over to Mr. Rundle, who will describe the development agreement and 2 conditional use permits in detail.
Thank you, Allison. Jim Rundle, Planning Manager, Sparks City Council, Mayor Pro Tem. The development agreement in consideration today is between Washoe County School District and the City of Sparks for the construction or development of a public high school on a site approximately 87 acres in size in the Public Facility Zoning District. Just to reiterate, this is between Washoe County School District and the City of Sparks, not between the City of Sparks and Washoe County. This presentation will also include, as Allison identified, discussion on the conditional use permit regarding the transmission line and the conditional use permit regarding development on a site with slopes. Staff is going to identify how the development agreement works and why it is being utilized. We'll identify some of the concerns with development in this area, including sewer, transportation, flood control, and even the flight path, and how the development agreement will address those concerns. The site we are discussing today is within the current Wild Creek Golf Course. And if we could get up on the screens the exhibits. The development site, the parcel site, is within the area outlined in red. It is northeast of the intersection of Sullivan Lane and McCarran, as I said, on the Wild Creek Golf Course site. Wild Creek Golf Course has existed in this area since the 1970s and has been operated by the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority, more commonly known as the RSCVA. In 2009, Washoe County School District identified the need for a future high school in this area through their 2009 facilities plan. Furthermore, Washoe County School District, as part of their 2016 capital funding initiative, identified the need for a high school in this proximity. Preliminary site assessment for the Wild Creek Golf Course identified the site would meet the educational and operational objectives of the Washoe County School District. In May of 2017, a joint meeting occurred with the elected bodies of the City of Sparks, the City of Reno, Washoe County, RSCVA, and the Washoe County School District. All of those entities signed a letter of intent identifying that this site was appropriate for the development of a school and was in the best interest of the citizens of Washoe County. In February of 2019, the RSCVA's Board of Directors unanimously approved transferring the land from Wild Creek over to Washoe County, and that land is currently in escrow with the school district. We are here today to discuss the site plan, architecture, and mitigation proposals to the possible impacts from the construction of a high school campus at this location. As identified earlier, the area outlined in red outlines the parcel for which the proposed high school is being considered. Moving forward to Exhibit 18, to construct in this location on this pad, a transmission line needed to be relocated. A transmission line corridor needed to be created for this to occur. In July of 2018, the Sparks City Council sponsored a regional plan amendment, and at the February 2019 Regional Governing Board meeting, the Regional Planning Governing Board adopted the new utility corridor. The existing corridor is identified in red on the map, and the new adopted corridor is outlined in blue on this map. The Regional Planning Governing Board required the construction of the transmission line to occur within 2 years of the approval date. And if it was not constructed within those 2 years, the additional corridor, the one in blue, would expire. I will discuss more on the transmission line later in my presentation for that conditional use permit. But right now, I'd like to talk about the development agreement concept. In 2013, the state of Nevada legislature required all jurisdictions within Washoe County to identify the same process for processing a public school in Washoe County. That included the City of Reno, the City of Sparks, and Washoe County. That process that was identified was the administrative review process. However, development on this particular site exceeds the requirements of the administrative review, because again, a conditional use permit is required for the construction of the transmission line, and then a subsequent conditional use permit is required for development on a site with slopes. Both of those are public hearings, as Allison identified earlier. And again, given the size, the scope, and the interest in this, from the Sparks City Council, the citizens, and the Sparks Planning Commission, the development agreement process was utilized to get this in front of the council today. Today's meeting serves as a public hearing for all three of the items. As we work through this development agreement presentation, I would like to start off with a very important component of the development agreement. Section 3.1 in the development agreement identifies Washoe County School District will construct a public high school to accommodate a population of 2,275 people. This includes students, faculty, and staff. This 2,275 people number is imperative for the appropriate sizing of infrastructure and not necessarily an infinite limitation to the population of the school. This isn't to say that a future redistricting won't occur for the school, but again, you cannot size infrastructure on a what-if basis. The architecture and site design that have been proposed to accommodate a public high school of 2,275 people is supported by staff and was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with the appropriate mitigation measures. First, I'd like to talk about the building design. Sparks Municipal Code provides architectural requirements for building design in all zoning districts, with the exception of the Public Facility Zoning District, where this site is located. Staff has reviewed the building elevations demonstrated in Exhibit 2 and identified the proposal does comply with other applicable non-residential zoning districts. This proposal includes a 3-story building utilizing 2 different types of CMU, concrete masonry units, that are split-faced in a variety of sizes that also include metal accents. A variety of exterior wall dimensions and setbacks also help to provide depth to the building. The facade incorporates awnings, arcades, staggered parapets, which create for a more attractive building. The highest dimension on this elevation is 61 feet and is on the bottom elevation. Try to use the hand here. It is called out here as 61 feet. The Public Facility Zoning District, if you look in the Sparks Municipal Code, limits the height of buildings to 30 feet. However, there is a special Sparks Municipal Code exception that identifies schools do not have to comply with this restriction. I'm going to move on to parking now. The site shall be parked to Sparks Municipal Code. 1 parking space for every 1.5 students, faculty, and staff. Applying the Sparks Municipal Code standard requires, for 2,275 people, would require 1,517 parking spaces. Washoe County School District has requested a minor deviation, which is permitted through the Sparks Municipal Code, and you can reduce up to 10%. That 10% reduction would provide for 1,366 parking spaces. Staff required a significant amount of analysis prior to supporting this request. Exhibit 3, as demonstrated on the monitors, identifies what's one of the components Sparks staff required the applicant to provide. That analysis included local high schools, DeMonte, Spanish Springs, North Valleys, Galena, and McQueen, I may have left one out, to provide how many parking spaces were being utilized on days during a typical school day and also during special events such as a homecoming football game. We identified the highest demand for that was, I believe, a DeMonte Ranch homecoming football game, and the demand was 634 parking spaces. Along with additional analysis that's included in the staff report, staff feels comfortable supporting the request for a 10% reduction, as even the 1,366 spaces more than doubles the demand that we identified during a homecoming football game. The landscaping of this site is planned to be very intensive. The municipal code requires the landscaping for the site be at 20%. Exhibit 5 is reflected on the monitors, reflects that requirement and more. This plan demonstrates that 44.5 acres of the site will be landscaped. That exceeds the requirement by over 32 acres. The school district is also proposing to utilize natural turf at the site. This natural turf will be utilized at the football, the soccer field, baseball, and softball fields as well. The development agreement, staff tends to use the term DA. You know how planners are with their abbreviations. But the development agreement outlines Washoe County School District's utilization of Sparks effluent at the site as well. Sparks Municipal Code also requires that the site be landscaped at a ratio of 1 tree for every 10 parking spaces, as well as 1 tree for every 500 square feet of landscaped area. That would be 1,073 trees that would be required to be installed at the Wild Creek site. Staff has outlined the general site design of the high school. Now we'll move on to the mitigation proposals associated with a public high school designed for 2,275 people. The first component of this analysis will be on the transportation component. And for that section of the presentation, I will have Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager, come up.
Mayor, members of council, Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager. In terms of transportation, the development agreement calls out specific mitigations to handle the expected traffic to be generated by the school. These mitigations are a result of extensive collaboration between Washoe County School District and its consultant team, the City of Sparks staff, as well as the Nevada Department of Transportation and the Regional Transportation Commission. This first exhibit shows an overall site with the adjacent roadways. It's anticipated that the school will generate 4,314 daily trips, with 1,105 occurring in the AM peak hour. The bubbles on this exhibit represent key intersections of the project, which we'll dive into in a little more detail. This first exhibit shows the intersection of McCarran and Sullivan. May I borrow this? Thank you. On the east leg or the right side of your screen, you'll see an added exclusive right turn lane for vehicles traveling west and turning northbound. On the west side or the left side of your screen, you'll see an extended left turn pocket for vehicles traveling east wanting to turn north. The existing turn lane will be substantially extended and will also include room for deceleration and taper into that lane. On the north leg or the upper part of this exhibit, you'll see an additional left turn lane for vehicles traveling south and turning east. This will provide that leg of the intersection with exclusive dual left turning lanes. This next exhibit is further north on Sullivan, and it's a roundabout proposed on Sullivan at the secondary access to the high school. Traveling further north on Sullivan to the right of your screen, you'll see a roundabout is proposed as the intersection of Sullivan with the main entrance to the school. Traveling west, you'll see a roundabout proposed as at the intersection of Sullivan and El Rancho. All the roundabouts are shown in design concept, and it's important to understand that the final design will ensure that they are sized appropriately for vehicles that could be expected to go through there, such as a bus or a semi-truck, and the design will be to the approval of the city engineer. Traveling further north along El Rancho, you'll come to the intersection of El Rancho and Sun Valley Boulevard. The mitigation here will be to change the right turn to a free right turn, meaning vehicles will not have to yield as they will have a lane provided for them for acceleration and merging into through traffic on Sun Valley Boulevard. Our next exhibit identifies the flow of traffic used to determine these mitigations. Working with the Washoe County School District, it was determined that the student population would come from the north and from the west of the proposed site. The distribution of traffic was determined to be 50% from the north, 45% from the west. This accompanies the entire student population. The 5% that was assigned from people coming from the east would be support for the school, such as a teacher coming from the east or maybe delivery services for being delivered to the school. When we talk about transportation, it's also important to note that it's not just vehicles traveling, it's pedestrians and bikes. Through the development agreement, gaps in the sidewalk, such as this along the north side of McCarran, along Sullivan, both south of McCarran and north, and continuing all the way on El Rancho to Sun Valley Boulevard, will provide sidewalks and continuity throughout the corridor. Bike improvements. Bike lanes are proposed to be constructed on both sides of Sullivan. This ties into existing bike lanes that are already on McCarran, as well as existing bike lanes that are provided on El Rancho. Further infrastructure in addition to these infrastructure requirements, the development agreement requires school flashers for school zones in appropriate areas and traffic signal timing adjustments and certain components related to traffic signal timing to provide the city to handle the additional traffic in the area. With that, I will turn you back to Mr. Rundle.
The next component I would like to talk about is the sewer impacts from the construction of a high school campus at the Wild Creek, in the Wild Creek area. Staff has identified and anticipated sewer demands for the whole high school campus and included those calculations within the staff report. What we identified in analysis of those calculations was that obviously there was increased demand from the public high school. And the area that needed to be upgraded to accommodate that increased demand was in the area of Tyler Way and 18th Street, as reflected on the illustration exhibit above. Now, the City of Sparks has already approved the capital improvements plan for 2020, and within that capital CIP, there is a plan to upgrade the infrastructure in this proximity of 18th and Tyler. That is anticipated to be completed by June 30th of 2020. If those infrastructure upgrades were not completed, the high school would not be able to be opened. Staff would not issue a certificate of occupancy for the facility. I'd like to move on to flood control now. Staff's analysis included the change of the use from a golf course facility to a high school and identified the need for flood control mitigation measures and drainage improvements, including but not limited to an inverted siphon. On the exhibit above, Allison is outlining the area of the inverted siphon that has been proposed with this development agreement. This is essentially a inverted siphon to divert 5,630 feet of the ore ditch. The former location of the ore ditch is where the Allison is outlining. It essentially came into the project site, went north, then to an extent to the southeast, and then directly south back into where the inverted siphon would end on this map. The other important component that staff identified is concern for the Sun Valley Dam that is on the north part of this site, excuse me. And staff is requiring that an emergency action plan be developed for the Sun Valley Dam. Now, the initials that I'm going to use for the emergency action plan are EAP. You may see that in the development agreement. The EAP is required to address downstream hazard conditions affected by the development of this project. The EAP shall also identify or provide for a maintenance plan for the dam and all drainage and detention facilities on the property and the outfall of the Sun Valley Dam. The EAP shall include a component regarding decision-making, a notification process, and that notification process and decision-making plan shall include for pre-event issues and post-event issues. The EAP shall be approved by the State of Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, as well as the Division of Water Resources and the city engineer. And if it is not provided, we will again not issue a certificate of occupancy for the school. The next component I identified earlier that staff wanted to analyze was the concerns with the airport and the flight path. Impacts have been considered through coordination with the FAA and the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority, including an FAA airspace review, an aircraft noise study, and a site lighting analysis. The FAA has very specific laws governing development in proximity to an airport. Those laws are included in Title 14 and Part 77. And they also provide mechanisms to evaluate the effect that construction and safety and efficiency, preservation of a navigable airspace and airport traffic has in proximity to a public airport, in this case, KRNO or Reno Tahoe International. Wood Rogers, a consultant for Washoe County School District, completed these analyses and determined development can occur in the proposed area without affecting any of those outlined concerns. Both staff and aviation officials had a concern regarding lighting, which has now been put up on the monitors with the illustration. One of staff's concerns, along with the FAA, was the requirement for downlighting at the subject site. This is demonstrated here, as I said. At the top is an example of downlighting at a sports stadium that would be, in this case, the Wild Creek football or soccer field. The bottom photo is an illustration of when there's not downlighting. Now this example of the top could be found out at Golden Eagle Regional Park for the downlighting. Now that's not to say that you can't see that the stadiums are illuminated from Pyramid Way. But what it does do is it contains the light spilling straight down onto the field at Golden Eagle, and it does not spill outside. The bottom picture is more of an example of, say, Reed High School's football field, a little bit older where the technology may not have been available and the light can spill. If we go on to the next exhibit, this is an example of a photometric plan that the staff required of the applicant. And what this is showing is the athletic field and the lights being on, say, at night. The red area on the illustration demonstrates where the lighting will be most intense, and then orange, yellow, and green identify as the light reduces its impact on illuminating areas. You can see that this photometric plan demonstrates that the lighting will all be contained on site. And very quickly outside of the the athletic field, you go to essentially a dark skies area, and that is illustrated in black. Also want to mention that, as you saw in the landscape plan earlier, there is identification of an area for a baseball and a softball field. And at this time, the school district does not plan to install lighting on anything other than the football or soccer field. The Sparks Municipal Code requires staff to identify how the development agreement would conform with the comprehensive plan. Staff has outlined those goals and policies in the staff report, and I'm going to identify a couple of those. Goal MG4. The comprehensive plan requires that the city facilitate new infill and redevelopment. Policy MG11 requires new infill to consider existing neighborhoods regarding zoning, building placement, landscaping, and access. Policy C4 in the comprehensive plan states that the city should require sidewalks for pedestrians on all street networks within the city. And I believe we've identified how those comprehensive plan policies will be instilled on this project. That concludes my development agreement portion of the presentation, and I'd like to now move into the conditional use permit portion of the presentation. The first being on the construction of the transmission line. This exhibit was identified earlier, provided earlier, and we identified how this came to be through the regional planning process. Staff and the Planning Commission have outlined how this conditional use permit proposal is mitigated and complies with finding C1 and is in compliance with our comprehensive plan. The construction of the utility line, again, would be to the north on the blue area and then back south to rejoin the former facility. The current transmission line runs across the project site. Staff has outlined the impact on the natural resources in the staff report and believe that it was already considered when the construction of the transmission line occurred in the red location. Staff and the Planning Commission have also proposed conditions to mitigate the impacts of the transmission line, and those are included in the staff report in the form of 4 conditions. Finding C5 in the staff report identified that the Planning Commission and the City Council serve as the public hearings for this item. The project was also notified to all property owners within 500 feet of the site, and they were notified of the Sparks Planning Commission public hearing. Now I'd like to move on to the conditional use permit for the construction on a hillside. Actually, for the construction on a site with slopes is the more appropriate term. The Sparks Municipal Code requires a conditional use permit when a site has slopes greater than 10% over 25% of the site. Exhibit 15 that is now up on the board identifies that the slope map is essentially one color. That's because the site is relatively flat in terms of what the Sparks Municipal Code determines to be a slope. This conditional use permit for development on a site, again with slopes 10% or greater over 25% of the site, was only triggered by 1%. The area outlined in blue on this map identifies the development site and where disturbance would occur on the site. The rest of the site to the northeast would be all left undisturbed. It is difficult to see on this map, but the topographic lines get to be a little bit closer at the northeast corner of the site. And that is the area that will not be disturbed and is the area with the greater slopes. I'd also like to outline, you can see the ore ditch on this map and the current alignment of that ore ditch, which we outlined earlier, would essentially be removed through the inverted siphon. The Sparks Municipal Code requires staff to analyze a development on a site with slopes and put them into 4 categories. That's provided exhibited above on the monitors. We're required to go through 4 categories, those categories being 0 to 15, 15 to 25, 25 to 30, and 30 plus. Then the municipal code requires essentially that you create columns identifying the maximum amount of disturbed area proposed, what is what is allowed for to be disturbed in each category, and then the amount remaining for disturbance. When you add all of those up in the columns and you go to the bottom row, the key number that the Sparks Municipal Code requires us to look at is the amount remaining for disturbance after all of the categories are totaled. If that number is a positive number, the proposal complies with the municipal code. So you can see in this exhibit, the proposal complies with the municipal code because 17 acres, more than 17 acres is still available to be disturbed. Staff and the Planning Commission believe this proposal complies with numerous policies in the comprehensive plan, including but not limited to MG4, as we identified earlier, facilitating infill and redevelopment. Staff and the Planning Commission have identified how this site will be compatible with the surrounding properties through the development agreement process, and that complies with finding C2. Finding C3 again requires us to identify the impairment to natural resources. We believe that was already considered when the site was disturbed as a golf course. The development pad, however, has minimized the further disturbance by moving the pad to the northeast as we identified with earlier site plans. Finding C4 requires that the council provide mitigation measures, and the council has done that. Well, the council is considering that through the development agreement process and the associated 4 conditions that are attached with this conditional use permit. And that complies with finding C4. The city council serves as the public hearing as well as the planning commission. And again, we notified all property owners within 500 feet of the development site, which complies with finding C5. And I will now turn it over to Ms. McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Rundle. Just to conclude, staff is recommending that City Council approve the development agreement and the 2 conditional use permits. Each of these 3 items requires a separate public hearing and a separate motion. There are also representatives from Washoe County School District here if the council has any questions for the applicant. Thank you.
Okay, so Chad, I need to open up public hearing on each item.
You know what? Just to make sure, open up public hearings for each item. Either
Okay.
that or give each person wishing to speak extra time to address them all. But I think
Okay.
each item would be the cleanest.
Okay, we'll start with 11.1. I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak at this time, please fill out a card. And I have several, so I'll go through the list. But if you want to speak, please fill out a card. First speaker is John Hesse. Come on down, John. Welcome.
Stiffen up after sitting there that long?
You guys you're doing fine. Good afternoon. My name is John Hesse. I'm at 3035 Malapai Way, Sparks, Nevada 89431. And I'm speaking more in favor of just being against the high school on the golf course. 3 years ago, when the proposal came up, the artist rendition that the school district came up with was beautiful with my money. Thank you very much, school district. But it didn't really serve to set very well with us. We weren't really notified that there was even going to be a high school up there. I made some notes about this, and I'll just kind of go through them because I was listening to a lot of the speakers. One was the golf course itself. The RCVA has let it run down quite a bit. A little disappointed in that group. And then Washoe County School District wanted to pick this up for a song. And I'm kind of thinking, is this the Fox and the Hen House? No disrespect to either party, but it just didn't sit very well with me. And so the students at Hug High School probably deserve another school. Maybe they could rebuild that school on the existing site and do a good job with it, but maybe not either. So when you talk about Wild Creek, it just seemed like there was a lot of other places that they could have built, or other sites they could have come up with. Suddenly there were 3 or 4 sites they come up with. We turned them all, or they turned them all down. Didn't seem to be anything to their school district liking. So if there's going to be a high school that is going to be built, if it stays on the far end of that golf course, which would, I guess I'd be known as the back nine, unless Mr. Lawson can hit the ball over that. Okay, you can't. Okay, well, I guess the power line will get moved then so that he won't. If that remaining front nine, the executive course, the cart barn, and the clubhouse, if that stays as is, I still don't think that it's a good idea to put the high school there, but I'd feel a lot better about it getting something running from the school district. They say they've been transparent, and I say they haven't, so I guess we can agree to disagree on that. Also, the zoning change, not allowing students on the east side of the Wild Creek to attend, I don't think I like that. If I was going to sell my property and the person that was going to buy it said, I got high school students, and boy, there's a nice school right over there, and I'll say, well, your kid's going to go to that school because they're not zoned for it. I'd like to see that zoning maybe redone so that that kids on the east side, although there's so many 1 acre parcels and not many not many young people over there, that it probably wouldn't be a real big thing. But anyway, all in all, I sure appreciate your time. It's a big decision for all of you, and that's about all I have to say for this one.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Kathleen Shoup.
Good afternoon to all of you. I'm Kathleen Shoup, and I also live on Malapai Way, which is right on the golf course's property line. I wanted to point out a couple of things here, several of them actually, that at first there was said to be no Plan B. That was the only place they could put that school. It just had to be on the golf course, and then they, after us complaining about that, then the school district said, oh yeah, we now have considered several Plan B, but they weren't appropriate. Okay, and then at first they wanted about 65 acres. And now it's gone up to 87 acres. And they didn't even know where they were going to place it at first. You know, they kept moving it around the golf course. And then there was the time that it was stated that the school was going to cost about $130 million, or around $100 million. And now that cost has gone over probably $200 million. But to listen to Mr. Etchert, he said, it'll cost whatever it costs. Okay, gee. That's nice. This is our money that they're spending. Then there was the initial statement that there was going to be about 2,600 students, and that was pretty shocking to me. But now, because of all the road, everything that has to be done to supply transportation for these students and everyone that's going to work there, they have reduced the students to, the plan anyway, is 2,225 students. So it fits with the roads and all the amenities that they've had to do. However, Mr. Etchert, in a meeting not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, stated, and it's on record, 3,000 students are going to be at that school. And we know that this 2,275 students is going to expand. And now you've got all this that's built for the 200 or 2,725 students. And what are you going to do after it expands? Now it's on us, everybody in Sparks. So they have just altered things to fit in their tolerances for what they've proposed to be built. And that is a really nice plan. They have put a lot of time and energy into that, and money into these plans. And I think they did a great job. But how can you trust these people? They just keep going back and forth. They're never the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next speaker is Kim Tracy. Come on down, Kim. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Tracy, and I am primarily here to support my fellow citizens who have asked me to join them today. I genuinely feel that my time and attendance at the various meetings of the RSCVA, the WCSD, all the different committees and subcommittees has been pretty much a colossal waste of my time. I think that you listen to us because you're a captive audience, and I appreciate that some of you probably hear us, but I don't know that you really hear us. So sometimes I think that I should have spent my time at home pulling some more weeds. I hope that moving forward, those of you who hold your various seats on the various different committees and whatnot will do, and on the multiple positions that you hold, we'll work to remedy the omnipotence under which the WCSD currently operates. One look at our current standing in educational ratings nationwide is proof that they don't really deserve the current level of power under which they currently have been entrusted with. I really didn't understand the level of disdain and distrust that so many people in the community have for the school district until I embarked on all of this with my fellow citizens and really became aware of that. And if you're not aware of that, you really should be. I hope that in the future, more will be done to really hear the citizens that have put you where you are. You know, and an example of why we distrust where we distrust is there was a time when Mr. Ettrick came to a meeting at one of our local meetings with just our small group and said, you know, he seemed very understanding of our concern and said, you know, the school's only going to be 60 to 70 acres and it's only going to be 2 stories. And at that time I said, why wouldn't you make the school 3 stories and decrease the footprint? Now it's 3 stories and it's 87 plus or minus acres. When we found that out, we understand the school is happening, it's going to be there, and there's nothing we can do about it. But why not consider building a parking structure instead of all that concrete and decreasing the footprint yet again? And yet again, it seems as though that all these suggestions fall on deaf ears, and that is the bulk of some of our frustration that we feel. And now we find out that the zoning won't even permit the kids in the local area 550 feet away to go to this school, which will decrease our property value rather than enhance it. And it's just another slap in the face. And I think that if you try to put yourselves in our shoes, you can more fully appreciate why we have been so headstrong in all of this. There's a level of distrust that was born of being fed misinformation. And I hope that in the future, you will do your best to work to kind of rein in the school district, like with the PRS, with our TMRPG. We hope that you'll do that and do something about getting us an MOU so that we can maintain at least what little green space they're leaving us. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Okay, Gail Miller. Welcome, Gail.
I'm more nervous. I've spoken at several things, but today I'm more nervous than ever, sorry. As a former school teacher, I have a great love for children and a passion for good education. Although buildings can be a component, are a component of an atmosphere conducive to a good education, they are not the most important factor in an outstanding education. Often I have heard members of our school board and school district staff refer to the high school at Wild Creek as being deserved by Hug High students, and that this school is to be for our urban core at-risk students. This makes me wonder about the high school students at several other of our high schools that are in urban areas and whose buildings are even older, such as Sparks High School. What is deserved by all Washoe County students is strong, outstanding, dedicated teachers and staff, and an outstanding applicable curriculum that focuses on the whole being of each student. Add to that a district should strive for communication with and cooperation of the parents, families, and the surrounding community. The development agreement before you has been worked on very hard. And although I do not favor having the school on the golf course for many reasons, first and foremost, I believe it should be closer to students that are actually going to attend it. These are some of my concerns. One is Mr. Searcy stated, I believe at the Planning Commission meeting, that they did not think that they would designate this school to be a closed campus. They would leave it up to the principal. I believe we had some meetings at Save Wild Creek where we were told that it most probably would be a closed campus. And I think that would be very important for the surrounding neighborhood. You don't have fast food places really close enough at lunch to walk to, and we could eliminate some traffic in the middle of the day and students wandering around. I'd like to see a closed campus. Zoning, some of my fellow citizens have spoken about. I live on the east side. I can see and hear part of where the campus will be. I don't have any students in my household, but my house is plenty big enough. I might sell to somebody with students. I'd sure like to be able to say they could attend the high school next door. It seems silly that they would not be able to. And the traffic study sort of indicates that the east part won't be having, where I live, going to that school. It would probably be zoned for Sparks High School unless something else changes. I'm concerned about hours of operation for outdoor activities like band practices, sporting events. I just hope that we can keep late nights to the weekend so we can sleep on weekdays. And also concerned about the roundabouts. I had a devil of a time getting into the roundabout yesterday down at the Legends. It took me almost 5 minutes. I don't know that these roundabouts are going to be adequate at the time that these kids are coming and going to school. So those are my concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Okay, next speaker is Richard J. Come on down, Richard. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, manager, and those assembled here. Richard J., WC1 for the record, representing 65,000 students in Washoe County. 2016, a majority of the voters said yes to WC1. Yes to our future and yes to our students. Yes to repairing schools, yes to the expansion of schools, and yes to building up to 17 new schools. Completion of Wild Creek High School will accomplish a number of things. The alleviation of overcrowding at North Valleys and Spanish Springs. Creating a badly needed high school in that area, which is much bigger than Hug High is. And helping to repurpose Hug to a badly needed Careers Technology Education Center. Is there opposition? Of course there is. However, when you consider the impact now and far into the future, it outweighs any of the opposition. Some things I've heard this morning, or this afternoon, I'm sorry, just are not correct. School moved to the north based on comments from the citizens there. And I agreed moving it to the north. It made more sense to have it to the north. It's flatter land, and with the money that the school district will be paying to Washoe County, that money can be used to repurpose the executive course there, making it a top-notch executive course. Never heard, and I do a lot of research, and I do a lot of facts, never heard the 3,000 number as far as students. I've heard between 2,200 today and approximately 2,600. Cost is subject to inflation. We've all seen what construction inflation is doing to us. We have no control over that. Parking garage, while it sounds nice, parking garages are not cheap. You know, these changes were made based on input from the citizens. The school district listened to what they said. They said, save our golf course. Great, I agree with 100%. Put it to the north, save our views. They did that. During the WC1, we were talking about 85 acres for this, or the 60, I don't know, it could be out there, I'm not sure, but I've always been under the assumption it's 85 acres. As far as zoning, this school hasn't even been zoned yet. It's not even going to be zoned for a while. There is a citizen-led zoning committee that looks at all this stuff for the school district. So for people to say that 500 yards away, kids are not going to be able to attend the school is not right, because they haven't even determined the zoning pattern yet. Last thing I'd like to mention is, based on the CAFR from RSCVA, the golf revenue is down 50% from 2012. Annual passes are down 28%. Loss per hole has got 100%. Golf cart rentals are down 50%. Driving range is down 55%. Golf experts have said between $3 and $5 million are going to be needed to renovate the golf course. Well, you've got a little over $3 million now to help renovate that course and turn it into a very nice executive course. So in closing, I'd like to say thank you for all that you've done. Think about the future of our kids, the future doctors, future lawyers, mechanics, city council members, mayors. That is our future, and this school is going to be here long past most of us. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Richard. George Lee, did you want to speak again? Sure. Come on down, George.
I wanted to address some of the things that he said. By the way, the zoning.
Wait till you get down to the microphone there, Jordan.
I have all these things I wanted to put up on the screen. George Lee, I live in Sparks, 3506 Brassey Drive. First of all, the zoning is in the development agreement. It's not just some thing somebody dreamt up. Whether there's somebody's planning on changing it or not, it's being codified when you pass this agreement. Everything in here is being codified. Like, they're gonna paint the insert panels blue. It says blue according to the way I read it. I'm not gonna go there. It's to find the stuff. The point is, you are affecting the green space. How about painting it green, Pete? The water. Where's the water going to come from? Are you going to use the affluent water that's pumped up from the treatment center? Or are they going to use pumps and wells to water all the green space? Which they're not going to have any AstroTurf, so it's all got to be watered. The landscape, 1 tree for every 10 parking spaces. Do you know what that amounts to? The trees will be 50 to 100 feet apart. That's what you're codifying in this. It's in the print. Traffic changes. You know, what have the rules changed since the corner of Clearwater and El Rancho? Have those things changed? Because they have 2 left turn lanes. Where are the 2 left turn lanes in this at Sullivan? And where are the 2 left turn lanes that should be at El Rancho? Because this is going to directly, adversely affect the traffic at Sullivan, at El Rancho and McCarran. And as a matter of fact, the other thing is, they don't seem to think in this agreement, which you're about to pass, that that corner, which is going to get a majority of the traffic coming from the east, they're going to come up to El Rancho, and they're going to go up to miss the bottom roundabout. They're going to go up and make a right turn at Sullivan and go into the roundabout to go into the school. That's going to get more traffic. It's going to get lots more traffic from that 45% that comes from the Hug area, from the whole western and southern areas of the zone. The other thing is, we're putting money into bike paths along Audi, along, down in the industrial section for people who want to go to work. They're raised bike paths, they're raised like bike sidewalks, I guess. Where are the raised bike sidewalks in this that you're going to codify? And what are you gonna do with skateboards? And a 4 foot, right now, all those sidewalks are 4 feet wide. Are you gonna leave it 4 feet? You know, these kids are gonna be walking along there, in single file, maybe?
Wrap it up, would you please?
Okay, yeah, anyway. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks, George.
So please, take time, examine it, and don't make a decision today until it's been re-looked at.
Okay, next week, Darlene, did you want to speak again? Darlene Hessig? Come on down.
Went to Sparkside, I went to Reno, so we can.
You get along, you get along?
With Deanna Martini,
60 years.
Okay, I wanted to show some pictures to you guys. I've always been concerned, for 42 years, I've watched this golf course. Okay, turn it on. How do you turn this on? Oh, she's gonna turn it on, thank you. Turn it. These pictures are in the area where the school, where the area of the school is going to be, just slightly down. This is right in front of the clubhouse. Dang it, I can't get it to turn. But anyway, oh my goodness.
Nice grandkids.
Yeah, nice family.
Beautiful family.
This is right in front of the golf course on February 14th. And right in front, there's a man standing there. He's a Fox News man. I thought, oh, I'll see all these on television tonight. But no, they wouldn't put them on. I never got them to be shown until tonight. And maybe it'll turn again. No. So this flooding is just outrageous. And it happens not once in 100 years. It's not a once in 100 years. And this goes on until it gets down to Whittican. And Whittican Road, there is like a ditch that runs underneath Whittican and carries the water. Well, that water was 4 inches from going over Whittican Road. And I was hoping that they would just show the people, here it is, right here. Just unbelievable water. And so my concern is McCarran and all the people that live beyond. It's going to be just a terrible, terrible situation for these people. And I think it's going to be a horrible situation for the school, because they're going to build this $1 billion school or whatever amount it costs, and the Washoe County people are going to be paying for this like over and over again. Now this property on the golf course can be a moneymaker. I don't care what anybody says. We've seen it. We live there. We've lived through it all. And it's just unbelievable that you can take a $32 million property and take it away and build this humongous school that does not belong in this area. It's disrupting the whole area. It's disrupting the environment. And why the Truckee Meadow Regional Planning doesn't protect this area is beyond me. I feel so dedicated and so heartfelt about this. This is a wrong thing. This is very much wrong. And I believe in schools, but I believe in common sense. Don't take and spend billions of dollars in a school where you have to correct all the roads, you have to correct the utility poles. For crying out loud, does this make any sense to you people? You're spending billions. These are taxpayers' dollars. Everybody should be here and having a fit. And whenever we get interviewed, they never put a darn thing on, hardly, that we say, but they put plenty on what the school board says. It's an unfair thing and it shouldn't be happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Okay, Wesley Griffin, down again. Welcome again.
Go to sleep sitting here that long.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to express my chagrin and what's going on. I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to do so. and to say so once again. One of the things that I would say is this is an excellent example of how we would hope that government would not work. Our community was not aware of this until 5 public bodies came together and agreed on it. If this had been any other project, any other commercial project, that wouldn't have happened. I'm sure we would have been notified. Now, in WC1, it did mention that the school wanted to put a high school in the Wild Creek area. And then suddenly, once it comes together, it's on Wild Creek Golf Course. Well, Wild Creek area is much bigger than Wild Creek Golf Course. So we were blindsided on it. Nobody came to us and said anything to us about it at all. Now, supposedly, there were many public meetings, but there were none of us. There's over several thousand, over 1,000 people in our area. Nobody in our whole group heard anything about this until it was so supposedly agreed to be looked at by 5 public bodies. Is that the way our government's supposed to work? We're supposed to do whatever we can to circumvent public comment? I don't think so. And it's too bad that we have to be in this at this stage of the game. We would hope that there would be some mitigation. Now, we've already lost 87 acres of green space. Where will that come from? Where will that be replaced? So what can we do to make sure that whatever is left can be maintained as our green space in our recreational areas? Something needs to be done there, and we would like to see at least the City of Sparks enter into some kind of a memorandum of understanding with Washoe County that what's left will be maintained as recreational area green space. If not a golf course, at least an open space. We don't have more public parks being developed. Highly unlikely that we will in the near future. Everybody tells us already that they don't have the money for it. Schools and education is very important to our children, and we all agree with that. Nobody's opposed to that. But the community that we live in is just as important. And if you take away the green spaces, the public spaces, the parks, stuff it full of buildings, allow public entities to go in and cannibalize parks, and I understand Washoe or Wild Creek is not the only one. They're talking about doing it in another area, maybe in Northgate or something. They're going to take over a public park there. What's going on, folks? Do we have a shortage of land here that we can't, or is it just that the school district just isn't doing its work like they did to begin with without really even having a plan B before this was proposed? Wasn't going to have a plan B till we came together and said, hey, where's plan B? Why?
Wesley, could you wrap it up, please?
Pardon?
Could you wrap it up, please?
Sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize over. Thank you. Oh, is it? Am I done?
You're done.
Okay, I'm done.
Thanks, Wesley. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this name, and I'm not even going to try the last name, but I think the first name is Diane. And then I'll have you pronounce your last name when we get down here. Welcome, Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Antonich, and I live right across the street in the Wild Creek Golf Villas. And I see the traffic every day, and it's horrendous. And I know more than all of you what effect it's going to have day by day, because my kitchen, my living room, my formal dining room, and 3 floors look over the golf course. And my biggest concern is every holiday on Sullivan Road, there's backed up traffic from morning, especially July 4th, any kind of holidays that they have the rib cook-offs. We got all that traffic going down to Sparks or, anything that's happening there. Sullivan, everyone from the upper town here comes down Sullivan, makes a left turn to go down to Sparks, to any of your recreation area. And it is just horrendous, and it goes on for hour after hour. So there's no way a 2-lane road with a bike path is going to make it there. You need 2 lanes in both directions, You need more room on McCarran to handle all this traffic. Plus, all this traffic every single morning, 5 days a week, going to the college, TMCC, they all come. Any student that comes from Sparks comes up Sullivan because they have to go McCarran and pass Sullivan to get to TMCC. So this road is, you know, people don't know how much traffic is on this road and those roundabouts. Oh, that's going to be a nightmare. The roundabout they put at Winco, you know, you go there on a Saturday, busy, you have to wait 2 lights just to get in the intersection. Roundabouts aren't always the ticket. And then my final comment is, any day we get 2 days of flooding, the whole golf course is flooded. So I don't know where they're going to get the money, and they need more sewage, and they need more water to get the water out of that area, because every day it rains, 2 days, there's 3 lakes right there. They're all flooded up to where the school is supposed to be. There's nothing. You can't see anything but water, and nobody else knows that because I've been there almost 10 years. And every time it rains, 2 days, the place is flooded. Where's all that water going to go? It's going to go down underneath McCarran and then go to the park down there. And every year that park floods out and almost threatens the elementary school down there. I can't think of the park. Anyway, we used to go there with all the lakes and stuff. So just be conscious that that road is not going to handle the traffic. That's my main thing. I mean, I conceded that we're going to get a school one way or another, but at least make common sense ideas, about the water, about the sewage. Widen the road really wide because it handles TMCC traffic and the school traffic. You're not just talking about the 2,700 students or 2,500 students from there. You're talking about the TMCC students also that use that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, I have a letter from Darla Lee. Is she here? No. No, okay, then we'll submit that. Okay. Okay, is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will close 11.1 public hearing, and I will open up 11.2. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on 11.2? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on 11.2, and I'll open it up on 11.3. Anybody wishing to speak on 11.3? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Do we have any more presentation, or are we done? Are we going to have to do each one separately, Chet? Voting on them? Okay. Okay. Are your presentations completed?
Our
Okay.
presentation is complete,
Okay.
but we're available for questions.
Okay, questions or comments, Ms. Bybee?
I do have a couple questions, probably for Jim and for Allison. Allison, on zoning for the schools, is that part of the development agreement, or is that outside our purvey? And is that Washoe County School District that happens at a different time, or is it included anywhere in the development agreement that we're looking at today?
The anticipated school redistricting was included in the development agreement for the purpose of developing infrastructure improvements that would be necessary to accommodate that anticipated district, but nothing in the development agreement would lock in the school district to a particular zone for this school, and that would happen at a later date.
Okay, so that was purely for numbers, to look at an estimate of numbers of student population along with staff, as you looked at requirements that we would need for infrastructure. It's not the zoning lines that we determine, because that's not the city's Sparks jurisdiction.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Correct. It was essentially utilized for traffic.
So for the traffic, we needed to know an estimate. And you mentioned, Mr. Rundle, that we can't determine that based on future projections of what would happen as this area continues to grow. We can't project out 5 years, 10 years from now what we think we're going to need. We have to look at what we're looking at today.
Yes, and that's what we identified in the earlier presentation when we identified that the development agreement identifies for 2,275 people, not necessarily students. And that would include faculty and staff. Maybe I'll pull it closer. Councilwoman Bybee, what we identified in the earlier presentation was that this would be for 2,275 people, not necessarily students. And that included staff and faculty in that number. And that is conditioned in the development agreement. Now, to your question more specifically, agreed, we identified in the presentation that we can't forecast what additional student numbers there may be a desire for in the future at that school. However, if the school district came in 15 years from now and wanted to add a modular or add additional capacity at the school in terms of something that would require a building permit, we would have the administrative review process, and we would be able to analyze the impacts at that point.
Okay. I do have just a couple other questions. On the, can you, on the sewer capacity and the sewer question that was brought up, I know that it shows in our report the mitigation that's happening on capital improvements that we're going to be making. Can you be clear for everyone on when the sewer, where's the sewer from the school? Where is it connecting? Is it going into the golf course, or is it connecting into our system? And what improvements are we making to accommodate for that?
This was on the site plan that someone identified. I believe that's what you're speaking to,
Yes.
Councilman Bybee. I'm not exactly sure. We can have John Erickson come down and identify exactly where it may connect. But essentially, the analysis that's important for the development agreement is that the generation of sewer by the school can be accommodated by the capital improvements that the city has approved in the capital improvements plan. And that required infrastructure upgrades to accommodate that capacity at Tyler Way, and I believe it was 18th Street. Do we have that exhibit, Allison, somewhere?
Okay. And that, but basically, it is connecting into the Sparks sewer,
Correct. It will connect into the city of Sparks.
into our sewer
sanitary
system.
sewer
It's not
system.
going to the golf course. It's been accounted for, and we are, the capital improvements for the additional capacity has been addressed and is included in our report.
It is in a plan to be addressed, and if it is not addressed, the school will not, if there was something to change, again, it's already been approved in our CIP. If something were to happen where that construction was not completed, then we would not issue a certificate of occupancy for the school, because the system could not accommodate the generation of the sewer. But we really don't anticipate that being the case, because it's already been approved and budgeted for.
Okay, and one last question. This might be Amber on the, so on the road on Sullivan, with the concern that was just voiced, on Sullivan, is that just one road, one way? I mean, 2 lanes, one in each direction? Will there be any expansion other than the sidewalks and bike trails, or is it still just one north and one southbound lane on Sullivan, and will that accommodate our traffic?
Correct. It will be 1 lane northbound and 1 lane southbound. Some of the improvements on the north leg of that intersection, can I? The improvement on the north leg of that intersection is found here with the dual lefts. Currently, the situation out there is dual lefts. However, one of the lefts is a shared through, which requires the intersection to operate in what traffic people call split phase. It's less efficiency through the system. Adding the dual lefts to where they're exclusively lefts and removing that through being shared will provide more efficiency through that intersection. The proposal also includes sidewalks on both sides of Sullivan, where currently it's only on portions of the west side.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lawson?
Well, I got a few questions. We'll stay right there, Amber, since that slides up. Let's stay with that. How many cars queue in the lane now?
Actually, for a more specific detail like that, I'm going to turn you over to Lauren Chilson from Headway, if you don't mind, for the specifics.
I know currently it's about 6 or 4 cars, right? So Matt, how many will that increase to?
Lauren Chilson, Headway Transportation. So currently that turn pocket is about 95 feet long, and so that would store 4, 5, 6 cars. We're proposing to extend that 600 feet plus a taper, plus additional storage links, so so that lane would be on the order of over 1,000 feet. It'll extend nearly back to El Rancho to make sure that we have more than adequate storage and that those vehicles don't spill out on
Your
the
round number for cars, divide by 20?
How many would be able to store up?
Is that
Yeah,
a good number?
30 plus.
Okay. And we're confident that that will queue at 30 and not back up onto McCarran and hold up traffic at El Rancho and all the things that are happening now basically at McCarran and Sullivan going westbound on McCarran.
Yes.
I mean, that traffic backs all the way up to Wedekin in the morning now.
Exactly. We're maximizing the length of that left turn lane in order to make sure those backups don't spill out and balance the signal timing with westbound traffic in the morning, which we all know is heavy. This was a topic of great debate between RTC and the city. We were all concerned about it, and we've done absolutely everything we can to mitigate it.
Well, if you've tried to go westbound on McCarran, now it's nearly impossible in the
Correct.
morning. I've had some meetings have to go that way and actually I've gone a different way entirely.
So if I may just add on to that, that's part of the reason we provided 4 southbound lanes on Sullivan as well. We've done everything we can to maximize the signal timing so that we can get as much green as possible for westbound movements.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess, Amber, the development at the top of there, the Falcon Crest now, are we gonna, I'm understanding we have to put a stoplight in there to accommodate those townhomes? And that's within a few hundred feet of the roundabout on El Rancho and.
John Erickson, city engineer for the record. Yeah, the county has come to the city and has requested a traffic signal be installed there. And it's purely based on the volume of traffic that is coming out. Is Falcon Ridge, I believe, is the development.
Falcon Crest was one of those nighttime soap operas, right? Back in
the signal would be warranted.
So how's that gonna affect us with our roundabouts let out of school?
And how it will operate is that the signal itself at that location will tie into the signal up at Sun Valley, so that we can keep the progression, getting the cars in and out of the school site as they release in the afternoons.
So wasn't I getting 50% of the students are going, they're leaving, they're going northbound?
Yes.
On Sullivan. So would that stop, I mean, my concern once again is the backing up into the roundabout at El Rancho and Sullivan.
Lauren Chilson, again, there's a pretty good distance between those intersections. I don't have a scale here, but it's got to be on the order of more than a quarter mile. And
the new development is not that far away. It's actually at the top of that hill.
It's here, right, effectively.
It's right where the 50% is.
It's even further. So, yeah, and during those times, and I didn't prepare the traffic study for that particular development, so I'm filling in here as best I can. But there's
consequences that I'm trying to explore.
Yeah, there's going to be on Sullivan. The vast majority of the green time will be for the through movements on Sullivan Lane. That signal will get the side street movement during peak hours when the apartment's busy, but otherwise it's going to be primarily green. That's going to be a short phase because the volumes are relatively low out of the apartment complex, all things considered. I don't anticipate that queue would extend anywhere near the roundabout.
Right. Let's go back to sewer. Well, I got you there. Address the 10% grade that Mr. Lee talked about on that roundabout. Is that just an error in the plans, or we would never intend to put a 10% grade in a roundabout, I would imagine?
Certainly not. The roadway profiles will be different than the cross-section that Mr. Lee provided, I believe. But Mark, do you want to speak to that cross-section?
Yeah, Mark Casey, Wood Riders, civil engineer on the project. And I believe, just off the top of my head, the roundabouts themselves are 2% cross slope, the road's 5%. So, yeah, it's quite a bit less slope than what was portrayed in that exhibit.
Okay. I didn't think we would build one that way, but I want to make sure that we're covering all the bases here. This has been a 2-year nightmare for Ward 2, and it hasn't been much fun, so I'm trying to make sure I get all my i's dotted and t's crossed. All right. By the way, who's going to pay for the sewer upgrades? Is that going to be the school, or is that going to be the citizens of Sparks?
The sewer upgrades will be paid for by the city of Sparks. If you recall, when we did the rate study, this project was identified already in the rate study. And so the project will start design the start of the fiscal year. So you'll see an item that comes before you on the 28th to get started on the design.
I would suggest we maybe talk to the school about it. 2/3 of the students are not in Sparks that are going to go to that high school. So, and this truly is a project of regional significance because it is affecting the county, city of Reno, and city of Sparks. Water drainage. Do we address water drainage because we have all the flat surfaces, parking, buildings, and whatnot that we're able to soak up that are not going to be able to soak up?
Yeah, what will require is the post flows will meet the existing flows today. And that will be accomplished through detention, on-site detention, as well as increasing some of the pond sizes that are currently on the golf course.
And then, Jim, you were at the Regional Plan Governing Board meeting. What was the start date on building that new power line section? Because the clock is running at regional planning for that.
When do they have to have it completed
Yes,
by?
sir.
It would, I believe it would be February of 2021.
Okay. Then, tell me about the zoning on the east side. Today's the first time I've heard about that kids that live on Wedekin can't go to this high school.
I'd like to have Mr. Etchart speak to the school
I
zone.
appreciate that.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, Pete Etchart, Chief Operating Officer for the Washoe County School District. So to answer your question on that, the existing zoning that's shown in the plans is just that. It's the current zoning for the Hug High School attendance boundary along with Sun Valley. Now, we've received calls recently about this issue, and we are extremely open to looking at those students that live on the east side of the golf course going to the new high school at Wild Creek. Now, we have a citizens zoning advisory committee that looks at all zoning issues for the Washoe County School District. They make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees, but this is definitely, we are very willing to look at this and bring that to the zoning advisory committee.
Kind of makes sense. If you're going to be able to look at it out your back door, you should be able to go to it.
It's very few students actually in that area, but we are definitely willing to look at that.
These guys aren't going to live forever. We got, neither am I. So, and then I think something we should talk about on the other side too, because that's more high-density townhome housings on the south side of McCarran. Also, that once again, you're literally across the street from the school. Thank you. I got one more question for Mr. Rundle. Tell me the number of trees again. Because 1 per 10 spots, I know is not that many, but there's requirement on the other was over 1,000 trees?
Yes, sir. In the public comment, there was identification that the Sparks Municipal Code required landscaping to be at a ratio of 1 tree for every 10 spaces. But the component that was missed in that was that additionally, the Sparks Municipal Code requires 1 tree for every 500 square feet of required landscape area. So essentially, the total would be 1,073 trees.
Okay, then I just, one last question. What's to prevent this council from changing the zoning on the remainder of the golf course so that it cannot be public facility? Just in case Washoe County decides they want to move their county offices there.
The city council has the discretion provided by the Nevada revised statutes to initiate zoning on parcels. So it would be a process that the council would essentially direct staff, similar to what a code amendment is, and run it through the public hearing process.
That's something for me I'd like to see us preserve, and I'll request that in council comments. But I think that's important for the future, that even if the high school is there, that rest of that can remain minimum open space, but obviously a functioning golf course first off. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dare.
I do have a couple questions. One, you mentioned that they're not going to do lighting on the soccer or the baseball at this time. But what does that mean? Does that mean they're going to, and we need to anticipate? Will that come back to us? Do they get to do what they want, when they want? What does that look like?
And that's a fair question, Councilman Dare. I'd like you to pose that question to the school district and get their sense on their plan for that.
Again, Pete Etchart, Washoe County School District. We traditionally don't light our softball and baseball fields, so unless this is going to become a regional facility where we would play tournaments or something like that, and we do not anticipate that at this time, so we have no plans on lighting the baseballs or softball fields.
I mainly ask this, I appreciate that, but we have neighbors here who are concerned about every aspect of this. And so I'm trying to get some assurances, and I also don't want them coming back saying, you said you're not, and now you are, and they don't like it or whatever. What does that mean? So do you still get to just do whatever you want, or is that come back to us with some, because it's not in our agreement at this point?
Councilman Dare, as outlined in the beginning of the presentation by the attorney, by Allison, is that this is for the construction essentially of the site. However, we did identify that a requirement would be for an administrative review, which does include operations at the site. Staff would have the ability to condition something like that, especially if the school district is stating that on the public record. And I believe that we could condition that, and if it was not adhered to, they'd be in violation of the administrative review.
Then I would suggest we look at that. The other thing with flooding, a lot of times lately we do things, Southeast Connector is a great example, and when we're done, we've actually not just helped with the flooding that, make sure we didn't cause new flooding, but we actually did some things that actually helped the area a little bit. Is that part of this, that this is helping? Can we, no one's really talked about the possible positives of the flood, or are we just anticipating if it rains twice, as our expert over here shared, that we're done for? So I just wanted a little.
Again, Mark Casey with Wood Rogers. With the development of the site, we are reviewing all the existing flooding as well as pre-development and then post-development. The current situation, there's drainage comes from Sun Valley Dam that will be directed through the site and spread out, basically kind of similar to as it is now. It will probably eliminate the daily flooding that you see during storms up there, just because right now that creek that comes from the dam kind of just spreads across the golf course. That won't happen any longer. It will happen towards the bottom after below the site, but not on the site. As far as post-development, drainage from the parking lot and that will be dealt with detention basins, and the existing flow will be the same as proposed flow.
So it seems like it would improve our situation greatly.
I would think so, yes.
Okay, good to know. I think that's important for our citizens to know and hear that on the record. And then my final thing, I would agree with Councilman Lawson. We are doing putting a lot of parks in. I want to make sure our citizens do hear that. I mean, we have parks going in different places all over our city, so green spaces are coming. But it doesn't mean that we don't treat our green spaces lightly. And it doesn't mean that we don't try to protect what we can have. And so with that said, I know it's at the end, but I just want to say I hope we can protect as well. Thank you. I'm done.
Mr. Abbott.
Well, most of my questions are answered, but on cycle or bike lanes, are they bike lanes or are they cycle tracks?
These are bike lanes.
Okay. And then on the 50% and 45% of those percentages, is there traffic or I guess how much of that is going to be buses? Do we know based on assume zoning? Do we know, sorry.
Lauren Chilson, we know to some degree in that the school district has a 3-mile radius where if you're outside that, you're eligible for busing. That's really only the very upper areas of Sun Valley, the far north extents. So we've viewed the traffic flows as primarily auto, personal vehicle, and some buses, but we've been on the conservative side of saying we think there's really going to be a lot of personal vehicles and we should account for those, and busing will be a component, but it's a small component.
Okay. Does that also take into consideration, I guess, pedestrian traffic, like people walking to school?
It does. Holistically, the trip generation rates that we've used account for walking and cycling as well. And then there's also the RTC transit route, which runs in the area. We've made some recommendations on that front as well, so that we can get all modes, variety of transportation methods. But again, we've erred on the side of being conservative in every case that we can.
So there could be an RTC route that will run and drop off in front of the school or near the school?
On this slide, Exhibit 11A, it identifies the potential transit stop.
Got you. And, sorry, I'm all over the place today. I think that's all I have right now.
Hey, Mr. Anderson.
Actually, you guys have done a great job of presenting this, so we didn't have a lot of questions left, but there was only one that I haven't heard addressed yet. Some people have voiced their concern about traffic moving south through the intersection and then heading over to Whittakin to head west. And I haven't seen in any of the studies where that was addressed.
I'm not sure I follow the question exactly. Would you mind south to go west?
Heading south on Sullivan, across McCarran, and then at the next intersection, isn't that Whittakin there?
Yeah, it is further to the south, so suggesting a southbound through movement and then heading over to Whittakin.
Correct.
Those, the improvements that are proposed at that intersection provide a lot more capacity in that intersection, and try to find it.
All I saw were the patterns, showing that it was either going north or west.
Right, because we're talking generally about the school-generated traffic, which would, there's a small area to the south that would potentially be zoned with this school. It's not a real large area, and so there would not be a lot of school traffic headed that direction. There would be some, and we have accounted for some. But generally speaking, there's not a lot of new traffic coming from the area south of McCarran.
Pete Etzart, Washington County School District. The other comment I've heard with traffic on Whittakin had to deal with lunchtime traffic going across, as you heard some of the public comment today. So I once again confirmed with the superintendent, the deputy superintendent, and the school police chief, and we are all committed to this school opening as a closed campus. And what I mean by a closed campus, to kind of clearly define that, is Wild Creek will have a secure perimeter. We're going to have a single point of entry. We'll be able to monitor students leaving our site, and we are not going to allow, with the opening of this school, students to leave at the lunchtime hour. So we do not anticipate any traffic, but I can't foresee the future, so we never know when a school could become open sometime. So we actually asked our traffic engineer to include that study and do a study on what it would mean for lunchtime traffic. But at this time, we have no plans on having this as being a so-called open campus.
Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Bybee.
Jim, I just had one more follow-up on the sewer, to follow up to Councilman Lawson's comment. I know we had already looked at our sewer system and at the upgrades, capital improvements we needed from the city. Is the CIP that we are approving in that area only, is it because of the aging infrastructure there, and was it triggered by that? Or has the school added more that requires it as well? I'm trying to guess, is it our own city use, or is it, and if it is partially caused or responsible by what the school's going to add, then I do have a problem if the city of Sparks is footing the bill for the whole thing, if in fact some of it is a mitigation, is something that we would ask them to just like all these other requirements, conditions that we have. So
John Erickson, city engineer for the record. It was identified in our sewer modeling when we did our rate study. So those upgrades were already incorporated into the city of Sparks CIP. And so, as you may recall, we have a 5-year plan, and that this Tyler and 18th was one of the projects that was identified to go first. So that's the reason why it was included in the development agreement, that it had to be completed and online before the school could be occupied.
Okay, and that upgrade is because of aging infrastructure, and it's something we've already, in our sewer model, we have determined the city of Sparks needs. It's not just because of capacity being added by the school.
For historical reference, John Martini, Assistant City Manager, to get, I think, to the point of what you're looking for, Councilwoman Bybee, even before we knew that this site was a potential high school site, Tyler and 18th had already been identified as a bottleneck for other development in the area. And we knew we needed to increase the pinch point that you can see in the figure to provide additional capacity for this area of town. I would also like to remind the council that as we went into the rate study, we did have knowledge of the school potentially being there. We included the number of connections that this will value at, and the school district will pay connection fees like anyone else. So they all come together. I think that answers where you were going. Does that, I mean, it puts all the pieces together. We already had Tyler and 18th in the CIP before we knew about the school coming.
Right. I just wanted to be clear that it wasn't just because of the school, and that you've answered my question. So that clarification is all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take 11.1, looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
Like to make a motion?
Okay.
I move to adopt Bill 2758, an ordinance for approval of the development agreement by and between the City of Sparks and Washoe County School District concerning the development of a public high school on a portion of Wild Creek Golf Course, generally located north of McCarran Boulevard, east of Sullivan Lane in Sparks, Nevada.
Okay, I have a motion, looking for a second. Mr. Dare.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
So I'm going to, sorry about that. I'm going to vote against this just because I haven't had one person in Ward 2 come to me and tell me that they want a school there. And the majority, several hundred that are opposed to it. So I feel like I need to represent my ward and do what they want me to do.
Okay, Ms. Bybee.
I wanted to thank staff for the incredible amount of work for bringing us this development agreement, which really, I think, given the magnitude of this project, for us to be able to look at the full magnitude of what the school means to the city and to the residents, and as a community, for us to have the full picture, and not to just go to planning for it to come to us, for us to have the thorough information, which is how I best make decisions, is when I have facts. I also think that from where we started, I think we've got a bit of a win-win here. Moving the school site north, for me, made a big difference. I agree with the residents. I want to see green space. I want to see that golf course, which is out of our purvey now, that's Washoe County, but to see the golf course maintained, and by moving it north, just made more sense. It got it off McCarran. It was a better, flatter land, but most importantly, we could still preserve the green space and executive course, and still maintain that, and at the same time, build a new school, which is needed, and the fact that Hug High School and the potential of what that can mean in the future. But I feel very positive about kind of, a bit of a win-win. Not everybody's going to be 100% happy, but I think compared to where we started and where we've come, and hopefully we've tried to listen to all those concerns and asked you to address all the concerns that residents have of us. You've answered my questions, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Dare.
I do want to say that government is a process, and I know that some of you worked very diligently being in front of us. I've gotten to know, I think I know all your names almost without, and I never met you before. So it's great that you come, and we are listening. I want you to know there's a lot of things we get to look at beyond just what somebody says right here. And I hope you understand that, and I say that with a lot of compassion for things that you guys care about, a lot of those things we care about. And there's also some things out of our control. I think you've probably learned some of those things as well. I'd also say we all value school, we all value education, and I know Washoe County has stepping out, and it's hard to make change. It's hard to do these things. And so there's no easy way, and hopefully we've come to some compromises. I do believe that this is good use for this land. I do believe we need to do all we can to protect the land that we do have there. And so hopefully we all can be real good neighbors and help see the need of that. But I just want you to know, thank you. And I'm sorry sometimes you feel like we don't listen, and I hope you guys know we are.
Mr. Abbott.
Yeah, I have a quick disclosure to read. I would like to disclose that I'm currently employed by Washoe County School District as a substitute teacher, but based on legal advice by our city attorney, I am not legally required to abstain from voting on any of these agenda items.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes 4-1. Mr. Lawson is a no vote. Okay, we'll move on to 11.2. Looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve the conditional use permit, CUP 19-0003, associated with PCN 19-007, based on findings C1 through C5, including conditions 1 through 4, and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Looking for a second. Mr. Abbott.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 11.3, looking for a motion. Somebody. Mr. Dare.
Sorry, I wasn't there.
Hold on, I got to get there too. You're going so fast, Mayor Smith, we're trying to get to the right thing here.
Need to keep up?
I move to approve the conditional use permit CUP 19-004 associated with PCN 19-007 based on findings C1 through C5, including conditions 1 through 4, and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Looking for a second. Ms. Bybee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes 4-1. Mr. Lawson is a no vote. I want to thank staff for the report today. Everything was very professional and made us understand a lot of things you're doing. It's a good, really good job on that. We'll move on to comments from the public. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Bill, come on down. Oh. I know, thank you. I was worried about you.
Anyway, I think the man that needs a lot of good kudos is come on, Neil Kurtz. He's hired 2 very good men. Particularly, I don't know John, I don't know Doug, but I do know John over there, and he's a good man and good move on your part. And the other thing I want to know is, with the budget, are we solvent?
Well, it's public comment, it's not public discourse, but the short answer to your question is yes, we are solvent.
Good, okay. Now, I have,
I'm asking those questions all the time.
all right, I know. Okay, I have some books here I want to give to you, to all of you to read. It's Emergency Preparedness. And it's a very good book, you'll love it. So I'm gonna bring it up here.
Give it to the clerk, Bill, thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience wish to speak at this time? You? Come on down. Is it Wesley? That's George, that's Wesley right there, sorry. Okay, George.
George Lee, 3506 Brassey Drive. This is the page out of the traffic study. that you've just accepted by voting yes on this. This is what they plan on doing, okay? Now, I don't know if you can see that or not. It's right out of the traffic study. Can you turn that on? Yeah. I'm eating my time. It's not coming, okay. Anyway, so my point is, you've accepted all of the exhibits as presented, without changes, without modifications. And I think there's some, turn that, which way? Turn it. Ooh, how would I know? Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. Okay. This is this is Sun Valley up here. And here's the line coming down. Here's the golf course right there. Okay? And this is Weedican going up there. Okay? Here, right there. So, and that's what they were talking about. They were talking about that the plan was there. It was in the traffic study. They got this from the school department. It's not, there's no mystery here, okay? It's not people just coming and throwing around loose accusations. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, George.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for comments. Mr. Lawson.
I'd like to see if we can look at changing the zoning on the remainder of the golf course at Wild Creek so that it'll remain open space or golf course facility for the future.
Mr. Dare.
I just want to echo to our staff, I know this has been we've been talking about this, and to Washoe County. This is Washoe County Schools, is that this is a big deal of everything we're doing, and to our citizens. Again, change is difficult, but I just want to say our staff, you guys rocked it. Thank you for the information. You did a great job. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Anybody? Seeing none, without objection, we are adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting of May 28th, 2019, with a roll call.
Chairperson Bybee.
Here.
Agency members Abbott.
Here.
Lawson. Anderson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Dare.
Here.
Chief Legal Officer Adams.
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Kreutz.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, agenda. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Agency Member Dare?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second, Agency Member Anderson?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting of April 22nd, 2019 for possible action. Do I have a motion to approve? Agency Member Smith?
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Second, Agency Member Dare?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.1, consideration and possible acceptance of the report of the claims and bills approved for payment and appropriation transfers for the period of April 4th, 2019 through May 8th, 2019. I have a motion to approve. Agency Member Abbott?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Second, Agency Member Dare?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.2, public hearing. As required by NRS 354-596, to allow public comment on the tentative budgets for the redevelopment agencies of the City of Sparks Areas 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2019-2020. This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open it up. Do I have anyone who wants to comment? Any public who wants to comment? Okay, seeing none. We don't need a motion. Okay, so seeing no public comment, we can move on to the next item, which is item 6.3, consideration and possible adoption of the final budgets for the redevelopment agency of the City of Sparks Areas 1 and 2, fiscal year 2019-2020 for possible action. Do we have any information we need on this, or Stacy?
Again, these budgets, both areas 1 and 2, are identical to what was presented in city manager's budget recommendations on April 22nd. They're due June 1st, just like the city. One extra thing is that I'll be here after the meeting to get all of your signatures on the documents before
Okay,
we submit them.
so you need us all here to sign
Yes.
at the end of the meeting, okay?
If we could quickly do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay, do I have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve our final budget? Agency Member Abbott?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second, Agency Member Dare?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.4, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the contract AC 5573 for the 2019 CDBG Street Improvements Federally Funded Project, bid number 18-19-018, PWP, WA 2019152, to Spanish Springs Construction in the amount of $421,444, comprised of $279,408.75 from the City of Sparks and $142,035.25 from the Redevelopment Agency of the City of Sparks Redevelopment Area 1 funds. Amber, do you have anything more you need to present on that?
No, I don't. It was a companion item to the previous item heard, and just happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay. Do I have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the item? Agency Member Anderson?
Move to approve the contract for 2019 CDBG Street Improvements Federally Funded Project, bid number 18-19-018, PWP, WA 2019-152, to Spanish Springs Construction in the amount of $421,444, comprised of $279,408.75 from the City of Sparks, $142,035.25 from the Redevelopment Agency of the City of Sparks Redevelopment Area Number 1 funds.
And I have a second, Agency Member Dare.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item 7, comments from the public. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Item 7.2, comments from agency and chief administrative officer. Any comments? Motion. We are adjourned. Please don't leave before.